Welcome back to the Top 6 show today, sponsored by NordVPN. Make sure you get their app downloaded and you get signed up now to protect yourself online. More to come on that later, but it's going to be an action-packed show. Chelsea poor again at the weekend. Manchester United destroyed at Old Trafford by Brighton as the crisis with Ten Hag continues. We're looking at Arsenal and Tottenham, who continue their brilliant start to the season. Are they going to both be in the title race this year as we look forward to a brilliant North London derby this weekend? We've got the Champions League to preview as well, but we have an epic panel here for you all today, including Tom Little, of course, back in Liverpool. Nobbins is here. No, he is now representing City. Jords here from a Tottenham point of view. Rory's back, looking a little bit of a tan there as well after his holiday away, repping the Arsenal. Mo is here as the consummate neutral to everything going on, and Have Hope is here looking as depressed as I am when it comes to football, and that's where we're going to start. We have to start with Chelsea because we've only got Have Hope for a limited amount of time. Another poor day for you, Have Hope. Another game without scoring, and the most damning stat maybe in the last 37 Premier League games for Chelsea, only 39 points generated. Legitimately, we're not talking 4 or 5 game hype. We are literally looking at a relegation battling team in terms of performances, goals, and points. How worried and frustrated are you that the poor form continues?
I mean, my thing is, when you invest in an orphanage, this is what happens. So my thing is, these guys, they're running an orphanage because I believe that if you're over 23, you're too old for this Chelsea team. So what I'd like to get through to these like psychopathic morons is, do you really believe that you can compete in the Premier League with a bunch of testy babies? And that's the reality now, because literally Thiago Silva is the most experienced, oldest person here. Kante was let go, Koulibaly was let go, Kovacic was let go. So all of the older guys have been let go. And you see, we have to now talk real. Since we're on the terrace, we have to just talk real here. These guys are not here to win. This was an inside job. So it's one of two things. Either we've got completely clown owners, or these guys, they're actually intentionally trying to ruin Chelsea. Because what I've just asked is, what club in history has gone about a recruitment that is specifically about youngsters? So you lose Nkunku, and you're like, you know what? Do you know who can replace Nkunku? The sloppy seconds of Man City, Cole Palmer. When we paid 45 mil for Cole Palmer, City were like, are you dumb or are you stupid? Choose one. Either you're dumb or you're stupid. You have to choose one. That's your only choice. So it's the recruitment is trash. And you have that loser, Pochettino, who played and injured Harry Kane, who had not played for 2 months in the UCL final, showing how much of a loser he is, now saying that, oh, we can't beat Bournemouth because of Nkunku. We can't beat Bournemouth because of injuries. That is a clownish remark. So I'm sorry, I don't even know what to do now, because this ain't my club. I don't know what club this is. This ain't my club. They stole this off Abramovich illegally, wrongfully. Again, this is not a political show, but let's just put that to one side. But I say it was wrongfully, but let's not delve into there. But okay, here's the thing. And let me ask the panel and ask everyone here right now. This is very simple.
Wait. Hopeless. What happened to Toddy? Like, what happened to that energy?
No, it doesn't exist. That doesn't exist anymore.
Energy, bro. Like,
that doesn't. That doesn't.
Wasn't too long ago you were screaming that.
His name is Todd Jeremiah Bowley. His name is Todd Jeremiah Bowley. I don't know who the hell Todd be. His name is Todd Jeremiah Bowley. But this, okay, let me give you an amazing example. This is a great analogy. I have a mansion. It's clean. Jacuzzi. The pool is cool. There's a beach. Blue waters. Waterfalls. It's amazing. Then I say, you know what? Due to some stuff, I don't want this mansion anymore. I'm going to give this mansion to another person. Then the dude comes inside. He breaks the windows. He pisses in the water. He doesn't feed my pigeons, doesn't feed my birds, so my birds and pigeons die of starvation.
Pigeons.
And he literally ransacks the whole place and he turns the mansion into a shack. That's what these guys have done. Because my thing is, how do you see
Well,
how
that's
a
'cause he
club was
bought
run for the
Mudryk.
best part? What?
All this because he bought Mudryk for 80 million.
That's just the tip of the iceberg. That's just, and also, by the way, I think it's only fair that we do a Modric Trossard swap. Arsenal wanted Modric, so you can have him. So I think that we should do this swap since that was the guy that you wanted. So, but my thing though is, Terry, the owners are the issue. And I am coming for all of these big Chelsea fan channels out there who, you guys, you earn money, and they earn retweets, being Terry's favorite word, these echo chambers. That's how you earn your money. You're not going to call this out because you want to keep that money going through. So you're going to accept how this club has been ruined from the inside and how the recruiters is a complete joke. Nobody can defend you recruiting orphans on a blood pact. It's a blood pact. These 7, 8-year, 9-year contracts, it's a blood pact. And again, this is all I say. And the last thing I said, you guys can comment. What club in history has gone about recruiting orphans on 8, 9-year contracts thinking that they can win? Last thing. People say, oh my gosh, how can you spend $1 billion and you can't beat Bournemouth? Those are for morons who don't understand football and they only speak fluent moron. So let me try and translate for guys who speak fluent moron. It's not how much you spend, it's what you spend the money on. If you spend a bill on kids who are just learning how to walk, you're not going to beat it Bournemouth and you're going to struggle against Luton Town. And that's the issue. Terry, we've been screwed from the inside. It's an inside job.
I'm not hearing that. I'm really not hearing it, because when you were signing all these young players, look, you can put it to the owners. They're obviously going to take some ownership of it and they have to take some responsibility. But when you were signing all these young players, it was Poch is the guy to do this. We saw what he done at Tottenham.
I never said that. You didn't
say this, but this was the narrative. You didn't say this, but this was the narrative. He builds young players. He's the best coach to take a young team forward. This is what Poch wants. He's the coach to do this. This is what Chelsea fans were saying. So you spent all this money, yes, £1 billion. It cares what you spent on, but that's not an excuse to not coach your team to beat Bournemouth. That's not an excuse to have one win, and that one win is against the worst team in the Premier League, Luton Town. These excuses just aren't good enough. You can look at the board as much as you want, but you have to look at the team. You look at the players, you look at the manager. The teams you guys are playing simply just aren't better than Chelsea. You have a lot of injuries. Yes, we can look at that. But every time you got an injury this summer, you replaced that player with a signing. You signed
but Jordan, here's the issue though. Here's the issue though.
Oh my God, every Chelsea fan will come here with the
young players. But every time, we all remember. Every time they signed one of those players, it was a celebration. It was all this Chelsea
I never celebrated. Don't put it on me.
Did you celebrate your owner?
No,
you didn't.
But no, wait, hold up. But Jordan, here's the thing though. No.
Bro,
okay, no. Okay, no. Here's the thing.
You just said it's absolutely giving me headache. Listen, bro, your club spent £1 billion. You have 5 guys on the bench that Google doesn't have a picture of them. That's a banter of a club, bro. This is you coming here with this all sub story to avoid banter. It's fine, I get it, because it's not only you doing it. It's if my club Inter does this, right? And I get like trolled I'm not just gonna sit here and cry. Your club is your whole system was based on changing people, winning Champions Leagues, winning the leagues, and all this stuff. But you're coming here to give us all this story, this drama movie that you guys did. Your club is in shambles because you got sold or whatever, but your owner, which is everybody twerked for the owner because he's back in the club. He's spending the money left and right. He's ambitious. Our project is better than Liverpool. And I'm not talking about you personally, right? I'm talking about the majority of the fan base, right? They did that. You're calling your fan base delusional. Is that what I'm hearing from you?
A lot of them are morons,
but this is the fan base that supports the club. This is the fan base that goes to the stadium. This is the fan base that funds this £1 billion project that is better than Liverpool. Come on, this is. I'm sorry. This is
Can I
a
ask a
drama
question of the
that
panel?
doesn't
Can I
have
ask
to
a
be
question?
listened to.
Can I ask a question of the panel? There's a lot of Chelsea fans in the chat. There's a lot of Chelsea fans online that are saying the injury list is exceedingly long, and that is playing a part in terms of the poor start to this season. What do you make of that, Rory?
It is that like they do have a ridiculous amount of injuries, and if you bring in even half of their sort of best injured players, suddenly the squad doesn't look anywhere near as young, or I mean, they're just randomly generated names on the bench. But you're still, you're Chelsea Football Club. Like there's a limit to what you can blame on injuries, and every big club, if you look over the last couple of years, has had a period of time where they have an injury crisis, and none of them have been anywhere near as out of shape or as bad as Chelsea. So it's part of the reason that you're doing so badly, but it can't be used as an excuse. And like, yeah, that is just a catalogue of massive.
No,
errors.
but my thing, though, Terry, to that is that okay, let's use Nkunku because that's the name that everyone goes to. Nkunku was injured in preseason before the season started, so you had a good few weeks to get a replacement. Who was the replacement? Cole Palmer. So for me, it's no excuse because the replacement you got for Nkunku was Cole Palmer, a guy who is nowhere near, not even close to the level of Nkunku, who we think is going to be the next big France starter and superstar. So my thing though is it's the recruitment. How you have to recruit experienced players. Experienced players are very important because if you don't have those old heads to now help the younger guys and just have a bunch of young guys in the dressing room, these are the issues that you would have. And my thing though is you can spend as much money as you want. If you don't recruit well, that billion will always lose to a team who've spent less money but have recruited better with a team that has much more chemistry. Because we will get to Brighton and United afterwards. It's about chemistry. It's about getting the right pieces. If you just get a bunch of random pieces and just put together and think they will function as a team, that's not how football works. You have to recruit well.
Yeah, do you know, I would say, look, listen, I get what Jords is saying. The fans bigged it up. I would say that all of us on here at some point in in our lifetimes have bigged up signings our club has made or bigged up a manager that's come in. I'm pretty sure, Jords, there was times where maybe you didn't, but Chelsea fans were like, we've got Jose, we're winning trophies. Spurs fans, sorry. We've got Conte, we're winning trophies, and it doesn't quite work. Fans are allowed to get things wrong based on a feeling. I suppose the question I want to pose more to the panel is, why is it going so wrong, and how do Chelsea turn this round? Because all banter aside, I know that you can't always, if this was just 5 games and it was a bad start, you could say, well, there's a way of turning it around. We've seen them be better. This has been going on for over 37 Premier League games now. How do Chelsea solve this issue and start winning games? Because if you look at their run of fixtures, the next 7 or 8 Premier League games, based on their performances and no goals, they could walk away with only 2, 3, 4 points, genuinely. Then they're in a relegation battle. So how do they turn this round, guys? How do we do that?
It's really scary because the issues that I don't know. So let's go to Vivel, who I believe was like the sporting director they got from Leipzig. And he's known as a really good recruitment guy. He was dismissed after 7 months. The issue is these guys. So Nagelsmann wanted the job, and he was waiting. He says, "Look, this is my CV. This is what I want to do. I've just come from Bayern Munich. Let's get it." But they were waiting because do you know why? They wanted Pochettino because Pochettino, who Jordan will know, he's a yes man. He's a yes man. The guy's a roadman. I'm sure Jordan is much happy with big Ange ball, which is way better than that nonsense that Pochettino was doing, relying on individual brilliance. So why did they get Pochettino? He's a yes man who can pretty much run this Ponzi scheme that is this youth project, which is a money laundering Ponzi scheme that these guys are. I don't know why you're laughing. I don't know why you guys are laughing. This is true. It's a Ponzi scheme. So, Terry, I don't know, because the only way to fix it is you have to get experienced players. You've got to get over 25s who've been there, done that, and mix it with the young guys. If all you're doing is primarily building a team that is just full of young players, not only young players, but young players that may be imbalanced and you don't have a right sporting director who can actually build him into a system, then you're screwed. So Chelsea are in a serious bad situation. And if you look at that October schedule,
That's not going to happen now at Chelsea because you've committed too much to this youth to glory thing. So you're stuck with these players now. It
Yeah.
would look bad on the owners, who I think are very sort of ego driven, to have to wave the white flag on this project. The only way Chelsea are going to get through this is they're going to have to ride out a couple of bad years while these players develop. That's the only way, because these players aren't just going to suddenly click. The issue they have is the Chelsea fan base has not yet aligned itself to the situation they are in. You are a club that for the past 20 years has been built on instant success, competing at the top year in, year out. If it doesn't work one season, you spend and you're there next season. That's not happening now. That will not happen. That's not part of Chelsea's future. Chelsea's future now is to do what pretty much every side here done for a couple of years. You're going to be battling for top four for a couple of years. You're going to be going on into the last couple of games of the season going, I hope we can nick fourth. Because that's going to be the thing. That's all you can do at the minute. You are not in a position to challenge for a title. I can't believe I'm saying that a team that has spent £1.1 billion are actually the 8th best team in the league on paper.
You see, but Tom, you just said it. In football terms, that's unacceptable. If you've spent that amount of money and you're hoping for top four, that's ridiculous. If any club, and I say this to anybody, any club that has spent over $1 billion, the least you expect is we're going for the league title and potentially let's try and win a European title. There's no club there's no fan that will accept their club has spent $1 billion and you're hoping for fourth. And I say again, what club spends $1 billion on primarily young players to hopefully develop in 4, 5, 6 years' time? It's crazy. It's madness. So what these guys are doing, I think there is some kind of inside weird job that's happening because it doesn't make any logical sense.
But the players you have signed, though, do you not think that they are capable of beating Forest at home or scoring a goal against Bournemouth? I've got some sympathy with the recruitment argument because I agree it's weird and flawed, and if you focus just on youth, then you will shaft yourself. However, fundamentally, surely just get the basics right. Don't play Enzo at a 10. He's not a 10. Don't play Colwell at left back. He's not a left back. Don't play Chilwell left wing because he's not a left wing. Don't play Palmer, who's a right winger, at 10. So there are recruitment issues. I totally agree with that. There are injury issues. Totally fine with that. But I do not care how many injuries Chelsea get. I do not care weird signings they make. The signings they have made are more than good enough to score a goal against Forest, to score at home, to score a goal against Bournemouth. I think there is clearly enough quality in that Chelsea lineup, even with all the injuries, to beat those sides. The issue is that your manager, I don't know why, is just not doing the basics right and isn't playing the players in the right positions. There is enough individual quality there to get better results than they have been doing. So I've got some sympathy with the recruitment argument, but I'm not having that it's the be-all and end-all.
No, but I'm fully with you because it's like, yes, that team on paper should beat Bournemouth, who, with all due disrespect, those guys ain't good. So my thing, though, is why was Pochettino hired? Is Pochettino really the best manager out there? His greatest achievement is taking Tottenham to the UCL final and wetting the bed once he got there. That's his greatest achievement. So my thing is, as you're saying, everybody knows Enzo is a central midfielder. Everyone knows that Conor Gallagher doesn't even pass the freaking eye test. So why is he the main midfielder dictating play? So, and then you have to ask yourself that, go to the original, why was Pochettino hired? Why would you now go from Pochettino to Pochettino? Why?
To develop young players.
It's clear that.
Sorry, George. Because when Eriksson signed for Spurs, he was 22. When Pochettino got Dele Alli, he was 20 or 19. Harry Kane was 22. So the right manager to develop these young players that align with the project your owner signed for is Pochettino, not a Nagelsmann, not a Randy, nobody. It's someone who has experience developing players. Is he doing it? It doesn't look like it. We're judging it of 5 games. But to answer the question, he was the right man to, based on experience and based on the history.
But I don't want to develop young players. Why do I want to develop young players?
See what you're doing? But you signed young players. See that? So you go back to the beginning, but you signed young players. Even Enzo Fernandez is 21 years old. This is it. This is what you signed up for. This is what your fan base has been crying for. We need a project. We need a sustainable project. We are tired of instant success.
Oh, please. I didn't sign up for that. I didn't sign up for that.
You are turning into a yes man to this panel like Poch to the owners.
Do you know what I mean? What's interesting for me on this? There has to be balance. There has to be balance. I understand the injuries. I understand the recruitment. At the same time, I look at Poch here. When you're making Conor Gallagher your captain at big Chelsea Football Club,
and they wanted to sell him as well.
Yeah, a player that they were willing to sell. That's a problem, and there needs to be criticism. It's almost as if look, we'll get on to Man United later, and I see Man United fans doing this. It's almost like they're sort of like single policy fans, I like to call them. You know, some people, they'll vote for someone in politics on a single policy and ignore everything else. This is what fans now do in their analysis. It's like, well, we've got the injuries, so that's what I'm going to speak about. It must be the recruitment. We buy too many young players. That's the only problem. It's a problem, but it isn't the only issue with Chelsea right now. The football is being moved around okay, but there is no confidence in that team. Every game, there are 2 or 3 players that either shouldn't be playing or are in wrong positions. And I think that element is on Pochettino. And I do feel that when a fan base assesses its team and it's fractured, so you get some that will blame the manager, but then everybody else wars against them and they blame the owners, and then everybody else wars against them and blames injuries, and it becomes like a big infight. I don't think it's constructive for your football club. I really don't think it helps. And fans are powerful when it comes to the direction their club's going in. You've got happy Tottenham fans. It makes it easier for them to play football. Happy Arsenal fans. It makes it easier for your club to progress and play football. There is something in that, in my opinion. And it doesn't mean you can't criticize, but this polarization that's going on, I think, is a problem. I really do. And generally, people are only polarized when they're trying to hide from some facts that are a little bit uncomfortable for them on the opposite side. That's generally what polarization is in 2023. They're making a lot of noise over here, so nobody's looking over this side. And I think that Chelsea fans need to wake up and smell the coffee a little bit more. And it isn't just the owner. It isn't just injuries. It isn't just Poch. It's a combination of all these things, and they all need to be called out. And you need to hold your club account for all of them. So every area where there's a problem gets improvement. It can't just be one thing. Now, if you want to say overall, yes, of course it's the owners. Of course it is. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I say that about the Glazers. They hired Poch. They're the ones that have this recruitment policy. It all comes back to them. But there's a difference. If you're assessing the game, you're looking at Poch and what he did with these players. You can then look at the recruitment. You can then look at the ownership. But just saying we've hired loads of orphans, that's why it's going wrong. You just got beat at home by Forest and couldn't score away against Bournemouth. That's a bigger problem than just buying young players. And I don't think Chelsea fans should be ignoring that in its entirety, in my personal opinion.
I do feel like
the question
I do feel like there's a part of I do feel like there's a part of that Chelsea has simply just lost its culture. The culture under Roman Abramovich is not the same culture that's under Top B. The whole system has changed. Even going down to all of the higher ups, they've changed. The players that were playing at Chelsea, they've changed. You got a new manager in. There's too much change that's happened. So the people that were there when Chelsea was a winning club are no longer there. They're no longer around the club. The people in and around the dressing room are new players. They don't know what Chelsea culture is. None of the players there have been long enough to even establish that themselves. So I feel like there's just too much has happened with Chelsea right now. And they're going to be going through this period of change and just moving things around for maybe another season or maybe another 2 seasons, maybe another 3 seasons. It's going to be a while before things are fixed because they've got so much different problems.
No, okay, but Jordan, but my question though is, why would you? So remember when Moyes took over, like in 2013 from Fergie? So this guy Fergie had been there for like, a long time. So Moyes could have just been like, okay, I want to change everything, top, bottom, everything. But he appreciates that, wait a minute. This was a club that has had a lot of success for a long time with a particular establishment. Yes, I want to bring in my guys, but to drastically change things would not make sense. You've got to just ease yourself in. So my thing, though, is if you've seen that a club has been run a set way for such a long time, fair enough. You're someone new. You want to bring something new. But to be so drastic with it, to be so blunt with it, and to think that you can do it so quickly, that's so stupid. And it's the hiring and the firing of so many people at such a crazy rates. That has just made things unstable. But it is true what you guys are saying. Take the game in a vacuum. Pochettino, I'm sorry, you have to. You can't go into a press conference and say, hey, it's the injuries. So because of injuries, you can't beat a team that's going to be fighting relegation? Come on. You can't. Actually, that's a slap in the face to the fans.
Can I answer Terry's question? Can I answer your question now? Now we criticize Chelsea. We laughed a little bit. So to answer the question of how Chelsea go back on track is to go in January, sign about 2-3 experienced players. And I'm saying experience. I'm not talking Thiago Silva, old man retirement home. I'm talking about the likes of Casemiro. Look at what he did at the Man United squad last year once he started playing. Someone like that. It doesn't have to be a 39 years old. But if Chelsea has 3-4 players in that team that is experienced enough to lead this youngster, I think it will turn around, because it's clearly everybody's just running around like a headless chicken, not knowing what to do. And it's not only on the coach, by the way, because if you play football, you know, sometimes you need experience on the pitch, not only outside. This is how to fix it.
I think that's a great point. I want to go to some of these super chats here. It says remove 12 first-team players from Liverpool's team, and Tom might be on the bench. Not an excuse, but it's a reality. But listen, Adam, I would say this. I think your injuries, people take that into consideration. But still, how many players on the pitch for Nottingham Forest and Bournemouth would still get into your starting 11? Very few of them, if any, at all, even after injuries. So not scoring a goal against them, you have to look beyond the injuries as well, I think. If Chelsea wouldn't have signed youngsters, they would have been able to spend If Chelsea wouldn't have signed youngsters, they wouldn't have been able to spend 1 billion. You need youngsters to amortize contracts over 8 years. I'm telling you, a 30-year-old would sign an 8-year contract as well. Just putting it out there. They definitely would, these footballers. He is spot on. He is playing players out of position. That's back to Tom's point earlier in the show. It's the Glazers' fault. Ten Hag can't get Rashford the press. We'll get on to Man United later. And listen, again, you guys don't listen to my content if you think I'm being a hypocrite. You should try listening rather than projecting your own emotions. It would really help you in life. Bloke wearing sunglasses inside calls millionaire football manager a loser.
That's such a dumb comment. That's such a dumb comment. So because he's a millionaire, I can't call him a loser. Oh, my friend Grant Stephen McCulloch, Elon Musk is a doof. Okay, and he's the richest man in the world. He's a doof. And I'm going to call it Twitter. I'm never calling it X. So yes, even if you're rich, you can still be a loser.
Hang on. You think Elon Musk is stupid?
Yes, I think he's an idiot for what he did to Twitter. Specifically what he did to Twitter, and I have every right to call him an idiot.
Again, I get what you mean. You don't like how he's changed the platform.
Yeah.
He bought a platform that weren't making any money, and he's now making it make a lot more money. That's not stupidity. Just because you don't like how it looks now, that's smart. Sorry, calling Elon Musk stupid is listen. You might not like him, but to call him dumb is a weird one for me. Have hope. Anyway,
let's see how X turns out.
Man to ever exist in humanity who's in the process of being able to colonize Mars, and you think he's stupid.
We're not colonizing Mars. Give me a break. That's
read into what he's trying to do. Anyway. Chelsea's downfall has been coming. Haven't been close to a league title since 2017. That Champions League trophy papered over cracks is what O'Malley says here. This here from Sarim. Cheers, bro. He says Liverpool third, Man United and Chelsea mudded. How do I say that
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
I'll let someone that can say it properly say it, because I don't want to do a Lee Gunner and do like, remember what he said? Was it Wallahi? Wallahi? Yeah, I'm not going to do that. Yeah, whatever it is he said, I'm not doing that. I'm really not doing it at all. Chelsea have only won 4 Premier League games in 2023, which is a madness. I still think one of the funniest things I've seen is that they've had more here we goes in 2023 than 0.1.
Yeah.
Which is a fact.
I think the funniest comment is Enzo Fernandez has more years left on his contract than the GA he scored with the wins he got at Chelsea.
I prefer the one of he's got more wins with Argentina than he's got with Chelsea.
It's a madness. Listen, it is crazy what's going on there. Like, I really didn't think that they would be. I didn't think they'd be the finished article this season, but I think most of us thought they'd be better than this. As much as it's fun to laugh, I don't think anybody. If you'd have said nobody would have predicted 5 points, was it 5 from 5? Only beating Luton, nobody would have thought that, especially after how well they played in stages against Liverpool in the opening game of the season. I really didn't see this coming. Terry, if Chelsea sack Poch, isn't that 3 managers in a row they sacked? Who is to blame for hiring these managers? Well, the board, yes, most certainly. That would fall upon them. That isn't.
Lampard survived.
Tom, don't.
Lampard didn't get sacked.
He finished his tenure. He finished his tenure. Lampard.
Poch does get sacked. Lampard's still available to come back in as interim again, isn't he?
No.
Can you imagine?
Time.
I would love to see the reaction if Poch gets sacked in November and they bring Lampard back in as an interim again. I would just love to see the reaction. I mean, with his assistant manager James Corden helping him, like it would be.
I don't want to rock the boat, but Frank Lampard did beat Bournemouth last season. Which Chelsea squad, he beat Bournemouth.
Tom, silence, man, silence. No.
Yeah, that is absolutely crazy. Moving on from Chelsea, another team in the mud, Manchester United, absolutely destroyed at the weekend by Brighton. Good opening 20 minutes from us, but then De Zerbi made some great changes. They were excellent, Brighton. There's no doubt about it. I want to take nothing away from them. Big problems still at Manchester United with scoring goals, really. And then just, again, old habits die hard for me. 10 years of watching this. People falling out of shape, not working hard. Calamity, really. Sitting 13th in the league. Disastrous start for Ten Hag. Again, same question, really, that I put out for Chelsea about Man United. Where does the blame lie here? I want to throw it out to the panel first before I have my say.
Okay, here's the thing. Because I've been discussing this with a few people over the weekend. So, was Ten Hag brought in to give United a footballing identity similar to Ajax? And did all of that hinge on Frankie de Jong? Because here's how I view it, and then maybe you guys can break it down. Because I think the idea was, wow, look at how Ajax are playing, amazing brand of football, and we all fell in love with just how well, just the way they play football, specifically when they go to that UCL semi. And then he comes in, and then obviously for that to happen, Frank de Jong was very important in terms of how the midfield works and people playing off of Frank de Jong. That didn't happen. So you would have thought that, okay, get the next best thing. But for some reason, I think Ten Hag was like, okay, because I'm not going to get Frank de Jong, I will just try to create a system that best works for this team. Play on the front foot, use Bruno Fernandes, get the ball to Rashford, and then boom. All that matters is just winning. And now, it's just because how Brighton were playing is how I think United wanted Ten Hag to make United look. Where, okay, these guys are, it's a passing game, pass and move, and there's great amazing chemistry. So the idea is this, what does Ten Hag want to do? Do you just want to be like, whatever system it is, best system for the players I have here? Or no, I want a specific system and play a specific way. That was how I played at Ajax and with Brighton for me to now go forth. Because my thing is, okay, Mason Mount, where does that come from? Because I'm not sure whether Mason Mount fits in his idea. Because what was shocking about that game was, it's one thing to get beat, but it was the manner in which they got beat and just how badly Brighton outplayed Man United. So what I've been discussing with United fans over the weekend is this a Glazer issue in terms of the structure, how the recruitment is working, and Ten Hag doesn't really have a proper director of football because his talent idea integrates? Because he had Mark Overmars and Van der Sar recruit players for him at Ajax. So is it a recruitment thing or is it a Ten Hag management tactical thing?
It's a great question. Let me, as a Man United fan, let me answer that because I want to be fair on this. So I do think it's multi-layered. However, a lot of this is on the way we're playing football at the moment is on Ten Hag. I can't buy into this. I understand where you're coming from. We play better football with De Jong. Yeah. But again, Brighton have got... Look at the way Brighton do things. Look at the way they move the ball. And maybe some of the players that played yesterday, everyone's going to want to buy them in 18 months. Who knows? But they play nice football now. Who steps into that team? They rested the likes of Billy Gilmore and Evan Ferguson, and they still played their brand of football. Ten Hag at the weekend decided, because Anthony's out, because Sancho's out, to go to a 4-4-2 diamond. Now, maybe they've been working on that in training for a while, but it didn't appear to be that way to me, because the players after that first 20 minutes, when De Zerbi made changes, looked lost. And that's why we were caught out of position on goals. There's an element of work rate in there as well, but that's on the manager. And I blame the manager for making that change as an example. I think last year we knew what he was trying to do. It was almost, we're going to try and improve the football slightly, but we still need to win. So that was a bit of a mixture of what he would like to do and what United had the ability to do. So far, and I know it's only 5 games in, I think that he's got his recruitment wrong. Now, I like the players that he was looking at in the summer.
No, Terry. He's got a recruitment wrong. When I called out Ten Hag's ID.
Okay, but that's not what I'm talking about. It's not the talent ID. I don't think, again, so that's what I'm about to say. So you're going at the talent ID. I think we've signed some really good football players. However, this is the thing with hindsight. Something Mark Goldbridge said that I think's true. People have acted like I've called him out today, but I think he's right. I think Onana is a very good goalkeeper, but we're trying to play out now more from the back, but we haven't still gone and got those Frankie de Jong-esque players that can maybe do that for us. So it's like he's trying to implement more of that style that he wants to bring in, but maybe the recruitment hasn't been good enough, because we're now in this mixture of players that can do it and players that can't, and we're being caught out. And again, I'm still going to put some of that onto the manager. It's about getting your recruitment correct and in the right order. So I think that plays a part in this as well. So I do think it's multi-layered. The tactics have been poor. The in-game management has been poor at times. And looking at it now, you've got, I mean, people are blaming Onana for us conceding these goals, and I don't really put it down. There's been a couple of shots that maybe he could have saved, and people are acting like if De Gea was here, he would have saved them. De Gea was letting in easy shots as well last year. The difference is we're leaking more chances than we were last campaign, because we're trying to change how we play, and I don't think the players overall are good enough to do that, or they don't have the confidence in being able to do it. And I put a lot of that on the manager. He isn't doing a good enough job in terms of drilling that into the team and making us perform. And when it comes to these individual games, I'm going to look at him, I'm going to criticize him, and he's got to go and improve. Now, I do believe the manager can do such a better job than he's doing right now. But I believe what's happening to him is what happened to a lot of our previous managers. The pressure of being the Man United manager is getting to him. And some of his decisions are strange. But when people are under pressure, they do strange things. And if he was anywhere else without this level of pressure at my club, I think Ten Hag would be okay. I think he's succumbing to it as well. And that's my bigger worry, that he's making erratic and strange decisions. But he needs to be criticised for that. It's the hardest club in England to manage. It's the most pressured club in the country to manage. This is just a fact. It's the truth. And he's not doing a good enough job of it right now. He just simply isn't. So he needs to be criticised. However, if he isn't the right guy, and Jords was right all along, his talent ID is awful, and Onana and Casemiro and Højlund and Amrabat, these players are crap. They're absolutely shocking, and we shouldn't have bought them. You then have to go beyond that and go, well, who's signing off on these decisions? Again, if you're just letting a manager with bad talent ID, who's actually not a good coach, who's a little bit fugazi, have this control at your club, I can't look anywhere else but my board and my owners. So, and that's the difference between judging an individual game and where you are in the season, and then looking at why these things are happening. And I think there's two conversations going on at Man United at the moment, and the media very conveniently puts them together. Yes, the Glazers didn't stop players getting back into shape out of possession at the weekend. They didn't make Lissandro get sold by Pascal Gross. They didn't make us miss our chances. Nobody's stating that. But if everybody's claims that the manager isn't good enough, the talent ID is bad, the project is broken, is all right, the people that hired those individuals are to blame for where we are again. And I think people like to conflate that when it comes to Man United, but then you can't blame your owners for what's going on. That's a strange one for me, because if everything you say is right, Jords, then the owners are to blame by default.
It's not that though, Terry. I can see what you're doing now. Is now that you're trying to yeah, you're right, but ultimately I'm right, because I've always said Glazers out. And look, I hear you. It's always going to fall back on the owners, and anything that goes wrong in a football club, it's always going to fall back to the people that run the football club. But at the end of the day, yeah, I called out Ten Hag last season. I said he's not a good enough manager. My team turned him away, and this season is showing. Like you said, Brighton, they sign players. Their talent idea is that even if they can't get their number one target, they're going to get another player that can play, that fits their system. He doesn't have to be as good, but he's going to do the job that they need him to do. Manchester United aren't doing that. On the other hand, Ten Hag hasn't done that. You said he could, Hopeless just point out, you couldn't get
Half hope.
De Jong. Hopeless at this point in time. They couldn't get De Jong. So who do you guys go and get? You get Casemiro. You get a completely different player. This season, you bring in Mason Mount, and he's now not even playing. He played obviously at the start of the season, but you've now got a whole new system. You're playing a 4-4-2 diamond. We've never seen Ten Hag do a 4-4-2 diamond. Where's this come from? And
again,
even in other games,
yeah,
I see him make tactical changes. Where I'm like, this is strange because some of these players.
I've called out that element there, but I just want to say to you on that, George, just to go back to that. You're right. You made those changes. Again, I'm not going to blame any of this on Mount, who's played 2 games and got injured, because the irony is, in the first 2 games when we looked poor, it was blamed on Mount. We haven't really improved overly since then. So again, Mount isn't the issue here. It's something else. However, I'll say this to you now. If you take all those Brighton players and put them in a Man United shirt and bring De Zerbi over, they don't play as well in a Man United shirt as they do in a Brighton shirt. We would not be, in my personal opinion, if you literally swap squads and managers today, inside 3 months, the Man United players that we all say are trash will be playing better football than the Brighton players at Manchester United. There is a deeper lying issue here and the reason I say that is this. How many class players have Man United signed in the past decade?
Many.
Tons.
Many. Top managers have been here. And this is where it goes beyond just sack the manager. And this is what I say. Listen, you could be right. But every time we go through this as a fan base, we just get rid of a few players and bring in better ones, and get rid of the manager and bring in a better one, we will improve. And that has never happened in a decade. So for me, I will criticize the manager on the mistakes that he is making. But what I can't buy into is, if we just get rid of this guy, we are going to improve as a football team. Because there's the fundamental difference is this: how well you're run is the underlying factor here. De Zerbi's doing well at Brighton because he's a brilliant manager. But Brighton are also, in my opinion, pound for pound, the best run club in England. I don't think anybody over the last 20 years has been run better than them for the period of time they have. You walk into a club that is harmonious and together. City is run impeccably well. Arsenal, since Josh Kroenke got involved properly in 2021, the way they've been run has been impeccable. You look at Chelsea, this isn't even a Todd Bowley issue. Roman Abramovich and his team weren't running the club well from like the mid-teenies, from 2015-16. The ball started being dropped. Look where they are now as an example. Liverpool under Klopp when he was winning everything. It was the man who was massively accountable for making you that good. So I'm just giving you his name.
Michael Edwards.
He joined the club in 2011. What Klopp inherited was a situation that was building towards where they're at. Now, it doesn't take anything away from the managers. They still have to coach the teams. But you can't, and this is the problem that Man United fans are facing here. I hear what you're saying about Ten Hag, and I can get on board with it. But the way it gets framed is, if you get rid of him and say he's crap, you will be a better team. I don't believe that.
No.
I believe if Pep takes over Man United with this squad right now, we'll become a better footballing side. No doubt, he's the greatest manager of his generation, maybe the greatest ever. But he ain't winning Premier League titles with us. I don't believe he can.
Nobody's asking for winning Premier League
Terry,
titles.
you talk about the cohesion.
Sorry, George. Sorry. The problem with Man United now is that we don't see what he's trying to do. Jurgen Klopp in his first game when he signed for Liverpool in 2015, we saw people running, we saw something that he wants to do. He didn't have good players, right? He didn't perform to the level that the other players did. Pep Guardiola many times had to defend his players when he signed for 2016-17 because they weren't good enough. And he said, no, I'm going to keep doing the same mistakes until they learn. My problem with Man United now, after 5 games, that I assume that from last year to this year, you're going to improve your style of play because he had more time with some of the players. But if you ask me now, sitting from outside, what is Man United? I'm going to tell you, I actually have no idea. Even Pochettino, Terry, we saw from preseason, he changed the way Chelsea play football.
Mo, let me interject you for a minute, because listen, everything you're saying I don't disagree with. So what I don't want to do is spend time everybody saying things to me as a United fan I agree with. My question is, how do we fix it? And the question I suppose is sacking Ten Hag the answer here? Because if I listen to what Jords said, let me premise the question.
Yes,
I'm not disagreeing with what Jords is saying. I'm very happy. I'm at a point where I'm happy just to go, you're right, Jords. That's fine. I'm happy to say, Mo, you're right. I don't want to argue any of that. That's what I'm trying to say here. I know what rivals want. They want me to say the manager's shit. So I'm just going to sit in that world. I'm conceding. Ten Hag is dog shit. He's a crap manager. He's fouled at the club. I'm just let's sit in your world. My question is sacking him going to make Man United better? If so, how do we get it right? 7th time lucky. Talk to me, boys.
No,
I have
okay.
the
Let me.
answer.
Wait,
I have the answer for this. I have the
real
answer
quick.
for this. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I have the answer. The answer is a simple question. Do you believe if Jurgen Klopp, I'm saying it, Ange Postecoglou, Pep Guardiola, even the guy that manages Paris Saint-Germain now, the people that have a certain style of play, manage Man United tomorrow, you will have a certain way of playing. And some players will not do it well. And people will say that these players are not doing, we need a better player in that position to do that job well, but they will have a job. Do you believe that as a Man United fan, do you believe that you will have a style of play with these managers that have a style of play? It's a yes or no question.
I believe our style of play would improve. Yes.
Do you think after that, the manager can say, yes, I have this style of play. I need a better player than this guy. For example, I need a better player to move the ball in the middle of the pitch than this guy or that guy. I need a better center back. The problem now is that if he asks for a player, what is the style of play? That's the problem. Like Ange Postecoglou can come tomorrow and say, I need a better striker because I have this style of play and that striker doesn't suit me. I need a better winger. I need a better right back.
Yep.
Also, the Zerbi can say the same. Pep can say the same, which he did with Claudio Bravo. Jurgen Klopp can say the same.
Okay.
That's the answer.
So again, I hear that. Go back. If people go back and watch shows where I praised Ten Hag last year, I've said it in many of them. Some of you may remember, and my viewers definitely do. As much as I think he can improve us, I never believed that Ten Hag could get us back to the top and stay there consistently with these owners. Equally, my fervent belief is if Pep comes in as our manager with Klopp as his assistant, with Ange Postecoglou putting down the cones, I still do not believe that Man United will get back to their best with the ownership. And you just said it there, because 5 managers running, 6 managers running, what you just said there about Claudio Bravo doesn't exist at Man United. Yes, we spent a lot of money, but you have to delve into it deeper. We are always playing catch up with holes. Everyone's allowed to buy duds. All of our managers have bought duds. It's whether or not you're allowed to replace them and how quickly you're allowed to replace them. And Man United, typically, we've done this to so many of our managers. They told Jose Mourinho, if we take it away from Ten Hag, because everybody gets a motive about the current manager, he bought Bailly and he bought Lindelof, but he wanted one more centre-back. And the owners told him, no, you've already had 2. You can have Fred instead, who's a midfielder. And the manager's like, I don't want that. I need this. And he didn't get what he wanted. And I think for me, that's my issue here. So I'm just at a point where I can hear all the criticism about Ten Hag, and I don't necessarily disagree with all of it. I'm not even bothered about it. My view is just everybody's talking like sack the manager, Man United get better. I honestly feel like I'm watching Groundhog Day, the movie, over and over and over and over again, and people are expecting it to go differently because nothing underlying is changing. And that's my issue here. And it's not a dig. Your analysis is fine, but my question is, I don't know anymore as a Man United fan how my club can actually improve. So I said the same with Ollie. I said the same with Jose. And have hope, you were in studios with me these years ago. I said the same thing with LVG, Jose, and Ollie. Sack them, fine. I agree with you. But will we get better after sacking them? Everybody each time told me yes. And we're back here fucking again saying the same thing.
No. See, here's the thing. This is what I even said to guys. So when I was doing like my show, a United fan was like, sack Ten Hag, he's bad, sack Ten Hag, bring in Scaloni and bring in Zidane. I was saying to him that Scaloni and Zidane, bless his soul, one of the greatest players of all time. That was lightning in a bottle with Real Madrid. Scaloni is not a great manager. He's just the right man for the right job at the right time for Argentina. Both of these guys, I don't feel, are as good managers as Ten Hag. And here's my issue. You have to decide, United, what do you want? If you want the Abramovich approach, sack Ten Hag, bring a manager, tell him that, can you win with these players? Then they go. But if you don't want the Abramovich approach, ride this out. We are all living and trying to cope in the world of Pep Guardiola. And what you do with Ten Hag is, which is what Mo says is, create a system, create a philosophy, and work towards it. Any players you get and everything, Because my issue with Ten Hag, this is what I think with Ten Hag. I don't know whether you agree. I feel the weight of Man United is influencing Ten Hag. I feel Ten Hag is like, oh gosh, it's Man United. All these guys have failed. And these guys have been searching for somebody to at least step up to the level of
Can I tell you something? Can I tell you something about the pressure at Man United? And people can take this as seriously or unseriously as they want. My brother's a Leyton Orient fan. He went away to watch them play Peterborough at the weekend. And this used to happen when I was a kid, when I used to go to Leyton Orient, because we used to have free season tickets at my school. This was at Peterborough. By the way, the manager at Peterborough is Fergie's son. When it was the over the Tannoy at half-time and at full-time that Man United had lost, cheers. My brother's an Orient fan. Is that every time that wherever he is in the country, if Arsenal are losing, if City are losing, if Liverpool are losing, crowd barely bats an eyelid. If Man United are losing, everybody cheers. That weight of pressure exists. It is genuine. It is real. I've got a question for Rory. A year or so into his job at Arsenal, Arteta wasn't playing the style of football that you are now. It took a good couple of years for it to really come through. Do you think Man United fans and the club should get behind the manager and ride through these rough periods, or do you agree with what the likes of Jords are saying, that he really isn't that good, his talent idea is bad, Mo's saying there's no style of play and we should look to move him on? How do you see it as someone that rarely in the modern era has stuck with the manager through thick and thin?
Yeah, I think I'd base it on having 2 summer windows. So after 2 summer windows, Arteta then began to move into the sort of football that we see now. When he started, we were playing a back 5 with Aubameyang on the counter, and that was it. And we won an FA Cup, but it didn't do us much in the league. And you kind of started like that last season with a really deep, low block, and it worked and you got top 4, but you were never going to progress playing that style of football. The worry is every signing that Arteta made, especially the big ones, was forward thinking to what the style of play we have is now. It was like he was building all of the bits of a puzzle to what we've ended up with. And with Ten Hag, I don't see that. And Casemiro is a great example. I don't think Casemiro can play the system and the style that Ten Hag wants to play. But he spent a lot of money on him last summer. And for one season, that's not good enough. And his talent ID is a problem. I do think it is. I also look at, Højlund works, but I don't think he works with Rashford. I think Rashford's a real problem in that United side because he is not a creator. He's far too selfish. And again, I think if that's Arteta, Rashford would have already gone in the same way that Aubameyang did because he didn't work for what we wanted to do. And I think the fundamental biggest issue is Ten Hag doesn't take any personal responsibility. And in a dressing room that we already know can turn on a manager like that, I think it's going to become a massive, massive issue because he's turned on Sancho, Ronaldo for whatever reasons, fair enough. But if he doesn't start coming out and defending the squad and taking that responsibility, I think that's going to be a problem. I look at after Brighton, when he was asked if that system worked, and he said it absolutely worked for 20 minutes, and then not acknowledging the fact that it took De Zerbi and Brighton 20 minutes to figure out that diamond and then completely outplay it. I think that lack of responsibility, that lack of accountability is going to be the thing that ultimately is his downfall.
I think his issue now, something that I think he got a lot of praise for last season, was the handling of the Ronaldo situation. Biggest name in the dressing room, causing a real sort of stir, and he managed that perfectly. And that was the thing that I think United fans were the most happy with, the fact that the manager actually stood up to it and didn't wilt to player power. And now he's not wilting to player power, but he's not having the same power. Sancho is starting to have a little bit more of an influence. There's starting to be memes of, maybe Sancho's onto something, maybe something's right there. I think for United, the biggest issue is, I thought this summer was... So last year was Erik ten Hag's come in. He's got a couple of players that he wants, but the squad isn't great. He's playing the football that wins, but that's not what he wants to do. Next summer, when he gets his players in, the next season is where he's going to kick on, and you'll start seeing the style of play. And they brought in Onana, and you brought in Mount, and everyone's going, there you go. You've got your pivot player. You've got your goalkeeper who can play out the back now. And the system just looks more broken than ever. It's like your defence wants to be front-footed, and your attack's trying to play on the counter-attack, even though it's in a possession-based team, and none of it makes sense. you realistically want an attacking midfielder who's going to drop in, retain the ball, recycle it, and that's not what Bruno Fernandes is. Fernandes is brilliant at the other way. For me, it just looks like United are battling with two identities in their starting 11. And when you're battling with two identities of your style of play in your starting 11, you end up having what you have now, which is the massive gaps in the midfield, in the heart of your team, where the two styles directly connect, is so wide open that any team can go through it. Any team, if they want, can go through that midfield. That then puts more pressure on your defence, and then that leads to more chances. It's what happened to us last season when the midfield got weaker. You actually strengthened your midfield, but because you don't have a style of play, it's gone to pot. And that's what Ten Hag needs to do now. I think what he needs to do now, he's done a year of trying to accommodate players. He now needs to go, I'm doing it my way. I'm picking players who fit my way. I don't care if I bought you last summer. I don't care if you've been here however many years. You play my way because my way is how I will die on it. I will die on that sword. And you know what I think he needs to do? I think he needs to start playing the youngsters more. United is a club that's built on bringing and bedding in these youngsters. And yet I'm not seeing the likes of Palestri get any minutes or any meaningful minutes, should I say. He should be getting longer games. Hannibal, when he came on against Brighton, a youngster, actually came in with a bit of fight. It sounds old-fashioned because it is, but that's what United need right now. They need to go back to basics at points. They need to trust what made them successful so long ago because that is part of their culture.
Just one quick thing, and then before
I just want to. Sorry. I want to say there's an interesting report that's come out from the Muppeteers this afternoon that it took so long for Amrabat to come in, partly because Amrabat was a player that the recruitment team didn't want, but it was a player that Ten Hag wanted. And again, this is one of those things that I look at as, well, if it doesn't work out, that's on the manager because he is the one who's pushed for him. At the same time, though, if your manager and your recruitment team, and this has happened 5 times with 5 players now, they didn't want Lisandro Martinez, they wanted Pau Torres. The manager wanted Casemiro when they wanted to go and get, who's a French dude, Rabiot as an example. If your recruitment team and your manager are seeing things so differently, and it isn't just a name of player, it's players that I think are really different from one another, that there is also a problem. That's not taking anything away from the manager because he is being given what he wants. But it also tells you that the way the club sees things and the way the manager sees things are not identical. And I can't imagine a world where De Zerbi or Pep Guardiola or Arteta or whoever it may be are in a situation where the board and the recruitment teams and the manager are so far away from each other in terms of the style of player that they want to recruit. I just think that for me is where there's a fundamental issue. And I got what Rory said as well about the manager, like sort of fran people under the bus and not taking accountability. Where I defend Ten Hag on that, though, and this will infuriate the viewers, is again, I read what he says in its entirety. And there's a lot of we need to improve. We need to get better. We could have done this. We could have done that. This was good. This didn't quite work out. I do think we have to be careful as people to not just read the headline and the overarching factor, because he did say we were good for 20 minutes, but then he spoke about losing our shape. Then he spoke about not showing enough character. Then he spoke about how we need to get better in terms of maintaining the shape of our team when we go behind. So there's many things he said that for me is taking accountability. We weren't the best team. We made these mistakes. I would have more of an issue if he was saying them. You know, they're an issue, because there was a manager not long ago that was asked why his team didn't do the basics, and he said that, you know, that's on my players. I'd rather you refer to them rather than me answer that. That would be a much worse thing for him to be saying. Would we agree?
Yeah, but I still think I get that it's definitely worse to be saying them rather than we. But when he's saying we lost our shape, he's saying the players lost their shape. When he's saying we weren't doing that, he's talking about the players. I think Arteta did it.
But Rory, I don't think that's weird, because Arteta was the guy. They said to Arteta after you got beat by City, they were asked to explain why they didn't do the necessary basics in the first half, and Arteta said, "I prefer to give that to the players." It's not atypical. When I just googled like a couple of Arteta when on teams when you've lost, and he says the same things. We did this and we didn't do that. And I don't think Ten Hag saying we lost our shape is him throwing the players under the bus. I think that's over-analysing the situation, personally.
Maybe, and I agree. Arteta has definitely blamed individuals before. He's blamed the group before. But there have been times, especially when the team was under pressure and scrutiny in the press, where a couple of times he came out and was just like, "This is all on me. yeah, he said something like, "My chest is here, hit me." He was like, "The players are doing everything they can," and I just think I've never seen Ten Hag do that, where he just comes out and is like, "This is all on me, leave them alone," kind of thing, and just give them a bit of a breather. And maybe that's the right thing to do. Maybe Arteta's wrong, but I just feel like so many managers have lost that dressing room, and so many of the players in that dressing room that hold a lot of that power, Maguire, Rashford, are still there. That I think I just feel like he may be setting himself up for quite a big fall.
I mean, for me,
that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, Fergie is the issue here. And by that, I mean this is that. No, but that sounds crazy, but let me explain. I think his success and how good he was and how influential he was, I think is the issue. I'm one of those rare people. I might be the only person on earth who feels Moyes deserved a summer. But you came sixth. It was a panic. Oh, sack. I just felt that chill out, relax, give Moyes another summer just to try to stabilize this, because it is almost impossible to follow in the footsteps of one of the greatest managers of all time. So I think what United have to do is, look, stop trying to live up to the legacy of Fergie. Because I think for Arsenal's issue was, look, we didn't have the kind of success that United had. And we've never had a manager that had the success that Fergie had. So Arteta was given the time to build a team in your image and just try to create an ethos. I think for Ten Hag, again, I don't know what was said to him, but I do feel that everybody that has come in, it's always been like, how can we get back to the standards of United? How can we get back to Fergie's greatness? Whereas I think what needs to happen is build a team that plays football, build an ethos, create an ethos, stabilize that ethos, and then when you're not in year 2, year 3, year 4, now you have something. Look at where Arsenal and Arteta now. So I think the issue for Ten Hag is do what you're doing at Ajax. Get a recruitment team, call up Overmars, call up Van der Sar and say, look.
Well, you can't have Overmars. He's
I was going to say,
we don't need any more of that at Man United. I'm just putting it out
there.
No.
Basically, I think that's about enough of those allegations. Right. Yeah. So basically, I think, look, I think the best, if I was to advise United right now, is Ten Hag, get a recruitment team. Trust the recruitment team, because the key thing, anybody who's done business or done a business course, delegation is key. Delegation is the key to any successful business. Delegate. You can't be a jack of all trades. You have to be a master of specific things. This is my system, and get experts at scouting, experts at recruitment to recruit guys for the kind of idea that you want. That's how you succeed.
I hear you on that. I want to go to some super chats here. This one says from Jezza, who says sometimes you have to be able to operate in environments less than ideal. There's nothing stopping Ten Hag having a plan, making it clear and recruiting to that plan. Has Ten Hag done that? It is clear what he is trying to achieve. So I agree. Because I'm confused by what we're trying to do now. So I totally agree with that, and think that you need to do something a little different. Absolutely, Jez. Thank you. This here says, I'm sorry, Mrs. Jackson. Woo, 1 Billy for really. Is got original base, Annie says there. Does uncertainty about the ownership hurt Ten Hag's mentality because he can't have a medium to long-term plan? I think it plays a part in the overall element of the club. But again, it doesn't stop you from having an identity on the football pitch. So again, I think there's certain elements you can put down to that, but it can't all just be put down to the sales process. I think that's wrong personally. There needs to be more accountability. Controlling the dressing room is key to success. Sir Alex Ferguson proved this has ruined my childhood. Yeah, look, that is key. No one's controlled that dressing room for a decade. So, yeah. Terry, please have hope. Where did he, where you got your hair transplant, because his shiny head is messing with the video quality. He's gone now, but thank you very much for that. The problem is when the manager goes to ask the players they need to move the needle. Could Pep Klopp trust the owners to give them that? Well, they wouldn't get it at Man United long term. Everybody gets it short term. And then the new manager gets to spend loads of money trying to fix the old problems, but we never actually complete that program. So I hear you. Klopp didn't want Mane and Salah, but the recruitment team wanted them, and they became part of Liverpool's best teams. Yeah, cohesion, how you run, it's really important. It really is. Terry, sorry, I've already done that super chat here. We used to think the same with the Cronkies. Yeah, and then you've made fundamental... Listen, the Glazers could still turn this round. They just need to bring in different people to make the decisions. They could... Because when Fergie was running the club with David Gill under the Glazers, in that period between 2004 and 2013, we're the most successful team in England. So they can still do it if they run the club well, but they don't run the club well. But I'm not allowed to say that. That's banned. Blaming the Glazers for anything is now banned on the football terrace because it triggers people. They get very upset when you speak the truth. Ten Hag needs to stamp his authority down. And we can't do that either because it's called bullying in 2023 when Man United managers. Pep can call a player fat. Our manager says someone don't work hard and suddenly he's a bully. That element is also a problem for us, but there we go. Look at Arsenal. When Aubameyang created his mess, Xhaka was about to leave, but turned it around in 2021-22 season. Arsenal were 20th after 3 games. He needs to be backed, is what Krishna says here. I hear you. Brighton's team value got you roasted is 16.2 million. Oh, I'm sorry, but we ain't cooking that Walmart version of Walter White. Listen, Man United got back. Listen, but Brighton, by the way, will beat a lot of good teams this year by a margin like that. Losing to Brighton, it doesn't even feel that embarrassing. It's the overarching issues that are more concerning for me. 3-1, maybe so. Ten Hag knows the situation at United before he joined. He accepted it. Decided not to work with Ralph. Again, that's not true, though. We can't rewrite. Again, criticize him all you want, but I won't allow the rewriting of history. The Glazers got rid of Ralph Rangnick, not the manager. Who said United needs a surgery, which you agree with, all on Ten Hag. Fair enough. That's your opinion, bro. As a Gooner, my observation is that Man United are in a similar mess to my club was. Fergie and Wenger left the club in a mess. You need to trust the process. Ten Hag cannot undo a decade of shit in a couple of seasons. What Jason believes. Thank you, Jason. Window closes, owner talk goes out the window as there is now nothing they can do for you now. Mount not injured. Eric is protect his bad purchases. United Defence League continues. Not strictly true. Newcastle improved as soon as their new owners came in, and there was no transfer window for a while. But I do hear you. Terry, you were delusional after the first game. Said Højlund would bring you 15 more goals than last season. Joke, mate. Toxic positivity. I still think Haaland can score 15 goals this season. Like nothing about the game on Saturday tells me that Haaland can't score 15 goals this year.
I disagree with that, and not because I don't think Højlund's not going to be good, but because he didn't, excluding the goal, which obviously the ball went out of play, he didn't have a shot. And he didn't have a shot not because he's not good, but because the supply just isn't there. And I think that's going to be a continued problem. And it's why, you know, as good as Rashford is individually, his lack of creativity and his selfishness, I just think Højlund's not going to get the supply. And when was the last, you know, United have struggled to get strikers to score lots of goals, not because they haven't brought in good strikers, but because they've not had the players around them that create chances for them.
So I've heard a lot of people say that in the last couple of days, that Rashford's actually the issue, is why the Lukakus and the Zlatans and the Ronaldos and the Igalos, all the strikers we've purchased since 2015, Rashford's lack of creativity is the reason that they've all struggled at Man United. Is that now what we're saying? Rashford's the issue with strikers at Man United being successful?
Not just Rashford, but he's part of the problem because he's been a consistent player alongside almost all of them.
It's the front three. It's how they make up their attack. It's not. I wouldn't pin it on just Rashford. The irony is, right now Manchester United need the Jadon Sancho they thought they bought because they need someone who has any creativity on that right hand side. Fernandes is creative but wasteful. Rashford can be creative but mainly is a goal threat and can be wasteful. Højlund is a hold-up striker, but at the minute, we don't really know what we're going to see there. So what United need is an injection of creativity on the right-hand side, which is what they bought Jadon Sancho for 2-3 years ago now. And that's the irony of the matter. Anthony isn't that. Sancho
But is that not what they?
Guys,
Is that
Bruno
not what Ten
Pires are
Hag
like
brought
this,
Anthony in
guys.
to do? No, that's what Ten Hag brought Anthony in.
You finished with Super Chat or you want to?
Can't help yourself, can you?
No.
You can't help yourself.
But listen, Jords, listen, I can agree with you on that. So but this is where it becomes multifaceted. the question was, is Rashford to blame? And you're like, well, Anthony ain't delivering either. And that's more my point. I think Rashford isn't a huge creator. He creates, he on average creates 1.5 chances per game, which isn't, for a player like him in a Premier League match, that isn't too. When you actually break it down, like if you look at other players in that range, Gabriel Martinelli creates about 1.9 chances on average per game. Saka, if I'm just looking at Saka's here as an example, in the Premier League, his average is a lot higher at 2.3. We see him as more creative. I think Mo Salah's, the last time I looked at Mo Salah's, I'm waiting for this to come up in front of me, because again, this isn't defending Rashford. This is looking at more the team issue than anything else here. Mo Salah's average is around 1.6 in the Premier League since he's been here. I just think it's a little harsh to put it all on Rashford when you've got Rashford's GA typically for Man United is somewhere, last year, one of our highest assisters in the team. I think blaming it on Rashford when he's been one of our more consistent attacking performers, when the Martials and the Sanchos and the Antonys and all that have come before them have flopped. I think I've seen Man United fans doing it today online. Yeah, I actually think the reason Lukaku flopped is because he had to play next to Rashford, and that's the problem. I just think that's a bit much for me.
Do you think that Rashford needs to adapt his game, though? That is one part that he needs to work on. Is because
He definitely does.
He needs to make the strikers improve. Like, his job is to provide Højlund with goals.
I have another problem with Rashford, George, to be honest, based on the last game. So Ten Hag called out Sancho for lack of training or something. That clip that is going around of Rashford walking on the pitch while his teammates were running around trying to press. I think no manager want that in the team. And I'm not asking for a disciplinary action. I'm not a Man United fan, but I think the sensible thing is to actually at least drop him, sit him on the bench, like he did when he was late before. And I know that's you're laughing, Terry, but
do you think that's an attitude thing, though?
Okay, so hold on, that's the problem. He didn't let me finish. He started laughing. He started laughing, and he didn't want to let me finish.
Mo, I know I'm laughing because there was also clips of Rashford pressing when everybody else was walking. So what about that clip?
Okay, so how many times in that game he was just walking around? So a couple of things about Rashford in this game, particularly in this game. I think he was very selfish. Reguilon did tons of overlapping runs, and Rashford was selfish. That's number one. Maybe that's his game, which is fine. The second thing is that I actually thought that Rashford was in a different wavelength than everybody else. You can call out McTominay the whole game for not tracking the guy, but McTominay was trying to press high. His lack of ability or IQ, whatever you can call it, but you cannot fault him for the what is it called? The word is I just lost the word, for the effort, the lack of effort. My point is Rashford looked like he's above everybody else. That was my problem. It looked like I'm not bothered.
Guys, it's all fine. So can we get back to the original question? Is Rashford the fucking reason that all these other attackers are struggling?
I answered no. I answered
no, but then you're cooking him more than the others.
No. Because because I was like, we moved on from him being the problem with the strikers. If Mo Salah was the problem with Liverpool, he's scoring goals. Rashford, you answered that, and that point is over. When you deliver GA, nobody's asking you to provide for a striker. Rashford last year was your highest scorer and probably the highest assist, right? Am I mistaken here?
So So
that's done. That conversation over.
But it isn't done. It isn't done because the point is that you're then. I understand everything you're saying. There's a video clip where he didn't press, but there's also in the same segment of video clips, there's somewhere he was pressing. And I'm not saying he's the best presser in the team, but for me, what I'm finding strange. And I'm not saying Rashford is beyond criticism. I'm seeing Staffy in the things saying, Cook, you're meant to be a Man United fan, defend your players. The fact is, people like Staffy will defend someone like Sancho that's delivered nothing for Man United more than a player that delivers, has delivered at Rashford's level. I'm not overly defending Rashford, but the fact he's being made out as if Rashford's the problem when all the other attackers don't deliver is weird to me.
That's
strange to me. Say something.
But I was actually about the problem is that, do you think it's a lack of effort from him and it needs to be punished, not disciplinary, but be put on the bench?
Yeah, drop Marcus Rashford. I guarantee you, we drop Marcus Rashford, will be a world-class team. Absolutely, you're right.
Mo,
you're taking it to a different level. You're rattled.
I say this now. We should no. I'm not rattled. I'm saying this now, 100%. Let's go and tear up his fucking contract. Let's sell the bastard because Man United and Bruno, get rid of Bruno and Rashford, and I guarantee you, put Sancho back in the team, put Donny van der Beek back in the team, Let's give a few injections into his legs so he stops getting injured for Martial, and I guarantee you will be a world-class team, bruv. 110%. That'll fix Man United. Fuck
Can I
my boots.
Can I just make a point on Rashford? So I agree that his lack of pressing overall is an issue, but I think where I disagree with Mo is I don't think that Rashford's doing that out of malice or because of lack of effort. I think he's being instructed to do that by Ten Hag, because I think that Ten Hag's basically telling him to reserve his energy and his sprint, because Rashford sprints in an obscene amount. I think he's basically asking him to preserve his energy for the attacking phase. Now, I think that's a mistake, because I think that you can only really totally sacrifice off-ball work if we're dealing with a player like Messi, Mbappe, that sort of level of player. So I think it is a problem that Rashford isn't pressing, but I would just ask the question, is that because of Rashford doesn't care and doesn't want to, press for his childhood club, or is it more that Ten Hag maybe thinks that Rashford, he can sacrifice all his off-ball work?
I know what it's all is, though. Look, rivals are going to stick the knife in and rub the salt in the wounds. I get it's your job to do, boys. But this all stems down to one thing. This is the fanboys of players who have failed, who have been criticised for not working hard enough, looking for a way to create an equilibrium. Oh, I'm going to find some footage of Rashford not quite working hard enough. Remember the walking stats Pogba got put out? We always said Martial doesn't work hard enough, and there was times where he didn't, especially running off the shoulder. It's all just about, well, I'm going to go and cook this guy who's still in the team. Rashford isn't perfect. Rashford does make mistakes. Rashford has had bad games. But honestly, people talking like he is the reason that other attackers have failed. For me, it's the most disingenuous piece of bullshit I've ever heard in my life. And the fact that rivals jump on it and go, yeah, that should tell you that it's a bit of Billy Bollocks, because they all want there to be turmoil. They all do. I'm going to finish these super chats before we move on to the, Arsenal and Spurs. Maybe Rashford is greedy because he doesn't trust his teammates, or maybe he thinks I have to win the game because he is a Man United star boy. Listen, there's definitely times where I think he should pass where he shouldn't, but he had 4 opportunities to pass to Haaland at the weekend. He didn't pass one where he went for a shot. The other 3, he passed the ball. Twice Haaland missed it. And the other time Haaland got the ball and scored, but the VAR said it went out. So 4 opportunities to square the ball to Haaland. 75% of the time he did it. Again, it's the way the facts are misconstrued with Rashford is ridiculous. There's lies out there. There's just lies. I agree with have hope, but the Glazers will get him that recruitment team in question. I don't think so. Yeah, they won't, but we can't talk Glazers.
Well, you're the only one who agrees with have hope, probably, this guy.
Ten Hag sacked after the Anfield game in December, maybe. And then once he's sacked, we'll be a better club, definitely. Terry, you are, already done that super chat. The problem with signing players you knew before is you don't have any excuses when they flop. Agree 100% with that. 100% agree. I'm backing Eric can't do a never-ending cycle, is what Ronnie believes. What is Rash if he is not creative left winger or a centre forward? He's a goal-scoring inside forward. That's what he is, generally speaking. But that's what he is. But yeah, he's not allowed to score goals. He's got to create, otherwise he's shit.
Can I just say, my point was only that Højlund isn't going to score more than 15 goals playing next to Rashford. I wasn't saying that Rashford needs to be, can't play because he doesn't create. It's only that Højlund isn't going to get 15 goals plus. And when you look at players like, talking about Martinelli or Saka or Salah's creativity, Firmino never got more than 15 goals in a season. Jesus isn't getting more than 15 goals in a season. So I'm not taking away from Rashford's ability and his ability to score goals. I'm just saying Højlund alongside Rashford is probably not going to get 15 plus goals because of that lack of creativity.
I agree with Rory.
No, I think if Højlund plays every minute, I think he'll get 15 goals at least.
But this is the thing with the 15 goals. I mean, I know the better striker. I'm just looking back now. Cavani, 17 goals in his first season. Lukaku got 27, then 15. Zlatan got 28. Ronaldo got over 15 goals. I'm not saying I know that Højlund isn't as good as those strikers, but we had goals. Strikers scored quite a few goals with Rashford playing. I don't quite understand. Do you know what I mean?
All competitions, right, Terry?
Yeah.
Oh, I was talking about
Premier League.
I don't quite understand.
On the 15 goals, did you say all competitions for that as well?
No, I think Højlund could score this season. And by the way,
I was talking Prem, to be fair.
No, I hear you. But for me, when we go back to people calling me out for what I said, I expected more from Sancho and Anthony from a creative point this year, and I expected them to go up another level. I don't expect Rashford to be the creator because that's not his game. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't look at Haaland and go, you're a bastard, Haaland, because you don't do what Harry Kane does on a creative level. So I'm not going to... Some players are just different from others. And it's weird that Man United always get this. Players that we criticize our players for the things they're not good at doing rather than focusing on their strong attributes. You know, I think Odegaard's crap because he can't break up play like Rodri. Fucking midfielders should be able to break up play like Rodri, you know? Like, it's just fucking stupid for me. No way Mo cooked Terry like some... Yeah, Chris, nice one, Stuffy. You're not a Man United fan, do one. I'm only joking, mate. If United don't beat Bournemouth next week, he'll get sacked. Bayern will rip them a new one on Wednesday. We'll get to that soon. Terry, the things that annoy the most is we are offered those experienced players on a cheap. Dybala, Paredes, Verratti, Vlahovic, but still injuries is what Blaze says. I hear what you're saying about Chelsea there. Do Chelsea fans regret sacking Tuchel? I wouldn't. He's struggling at Bayern right now. Like, that man's on fraud watch. I've got a new theory on football. If you struggle to win leagues with the PSG team or the Bayern Munich team, you're a bang average manager. If you struggle, I think you should be winning it with a canter. If you're elite, that is. Question, does Rashford play this way? Oh, sorry, already done that one there. My apologies. We should have sold Rashford last summer. We should have got rid of him. That's what we should have done. Arsenal are a youth project. Where is the optimism? I was talking about Chelsea a little bit earlier on. Speaking of Arsenal and Tottenham, both had brilliant starts to the season, gents. Let's talk Tottenham first of all, Jords, because you guys are, you weren't at your best at the weekend, but you got over the line. The football looks beautiful. And I know I'm seeing a lot of Spurs fans confident of beating Arsenal this weekend, and many across the airways, many on Twitter saying, we will be in title races this year. We are that good. Are you sharing that confidence about what Big Ange is doing at your club, bro?
No, man. I learned from the past. I ain't silly. I don't make the same mistake twice. I know last season I come out guns blazing, Conte this, Conte that. And this isn't even me just trying to hold off because I'm online or anything. I just generally don't believe we'll be title challengers because City are just that good. I mean, City have signed how much good players this season. I don't see us pushing up to their level. I mean, top four, yeah. I think top four is a very good chance at this moment in time. We've started the season well. I think on the weekend we played very well. We didn't get the goals. It was hard to break them down at times, but we created as many chances as we had in the other games, and we finally got the goals. It just took a bit longer. They got one chance and they scored it. I do think that the way we're playing is just going to be sustainable throughout the season. Luckily, we haven't had any injuries affect us like some of the other teams have, and hopefully we can continue to go that way. But I just wouldn't put us in these conversations with title challenges so on because our squad just isn't that deep. We probably have 3 or 4 injuries in certain positions, and we're going to have a problem. I know, unlike other teams, we're not going to be playing midweek, so the risk of injury is a lot less. But talking about Arsenal, it's Emirates, man. I'd be stupid and I'd be silly to come and sit and say, yeah, we're going to go and smash Arsenal at the Emirates. We haven't done that in about 10 years. We generally just haven't. We haven't gone there and got a win. Me personally, I'm looking to go to the Emirates and take points away from them. Whether it's a win, whether it's a draw, it's points taken away from them. And it's what we need at this moment in time. If we can stop ourselves from losing, I'm going to be more than happy. Coming from last season, they done the double over us. We need to get some blood in this game, man. We need to get something back. And this would be a perfect weekend to go there and get some points, especially after the way that we've started this season. But I can't go there and say that we're going to go smash them, man. I don't share that sentiment, Terry. I'm not going to try to put it out there. And if Spurs fans do look all happy to you, but going to the Emirates this weekend's going to be a hard game. We're playing against a team unlike we haven't played this season. We haven't played a team that plays similar to us. We haven't played a team that plays on the front foot. We haven't played a team that's just as good. Well, they're better than us at playing football right now because they're further into their project. So when we're going to be playing a team like this, it's going to present a whole new challenges to us, and we need to see how we adapt to that. I'm looking forward to seeing it just from a tactical point of view and just from a point of view from seeing my team tested. I'm looking forward to it. I want to see this Tottenham team tested. I want to see us how we can perform against the biggest teams and best teams in the league. And this is a game which is going to be where we show that. And it's a really important game because after that, we go into the game against Tom's side. We got a home game against Liverpool. So these next 2 games, we need to pick up points from them. Obviously, we've done well to pick up points at the start of the season, which is going to help us if we do drop points later on. But these 2 games back to back, we need to show that we can we can do something. We can take some points of the big teams. We've done it against United, but United haven't looked good this season, so it's nothing to celebrate. But if we can go to Arsenal, we can go to Liverpool, and we get points, then I'm going to be happy. And I think that it's going to be a good start to the season.
I hear you on that. Before we move on to Arsenal, in terms of Tottenham, rivals sitting here, not Arsenal, because we'll come to you in a minute, Rory. Do we look at what they're doing as, I don't want to use the word sustainable because the style of football is very good, but do we think that this level of performance results for Spurs with Big Ange is going to sustain and continue? Or is this maybe just a kind of almost like a new manager bounce that I'm seeing some people suggest? What are we saying as a panel?
It's not a new manager bounce. They're playing good football. That everyone's on board. Maybe there's a bit of new managers come in, but it's not like they're gonna fall off a cliff. They might drop some points, but they are a good side. And I was wrong about Ange. I thought Ange was going to be another one of them ones who comes in from the Scottish League, struggles at a top 6 club, but
He's definitely better than Steven Gerrard, isn't he?
Well, Geordie's fell out on that. Steven Gerrard got Aston Villa Europe, I'll have you know. But no, look, he's come in, he's embraced it. He's embraced it, and that's the biggest thing. He's got Tottenham playing a nice style of football, and I think that's the most important thing for that club at the minute. Trophies are something that will happen later down the line, but what they needed was a manager and a team that played Tottenham's way, which is nice football, and that's got everyone back on board. There's a positive vibe around Tottenham now, and they've got 2 tough games coming up, the Emirates, and they've got us at home. I think we remain the only team to be unbeaten at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in the Premier League. It's like since its creation or whatever. So it's 2 tough games. If Ange can leave with 4 points out of 6, then Tottenham are on for a really good thing, and maybe you can finally start dreaming off that FA Cup you thought was coming last year. Until Sheffield United got in the way.
This definitely isn't a temporary thing for me. Before a ball was kicked, I thought Spurs were going to finish 4th. I still think they're going to finish 4th. I think they've probably been helped by all the weird stuff that's happening at United. You could even maybe say Liverpool maybe aren't absolutely convincing. I think they will be in and around that area. I don't see this being like a temporary thing. I think that Spurs they'll continue. I think if anything, they'll just get better. It's very early days, and already you can clearly identify their style of play. You can clearly see what Ange is trying to do. I think that if anything, Spurs are just going to get better, to be honest. And I'm reassured they are definitely going to finish like at least 4th this season. I'm quite convinced of that.
Yeah, and I would say the big difference between now, because I know a lot of people are going to say Spurs done it under Jose, they done it under Conte. They had one of their greatest starts to the Premier League season every time. The difference is now, like you said, we're playing good football. The way that we're playing, I feel like the team all sings from the same hymn. Like you can just see that everyone's happy to be at Tottenham. The project itself, it just looks like everyone is working together. Everyone sees the vision. And unlike, like you say, the teams like Manchester United and Chelsea, why things are going wrong, it's just not everyone's under the same vision. I feel like at the club and the way that Ange has come in, even the way he carries himself, he takes responsibility. If something goes wrong, even the Fulham game, he takes responsibility. He will say it and he's going to learn. He's going to go forward and he's going to say, look, this ain't the players, this is me. And that's what you need in a manager. You need a manager that's going to take responsibility, going to make the changes, and he's going to be the man to push this club forward. And he even said, if a signing goes wrong, all the signings he made this summer were under him. He made these signings. So when something does go wrong, if it does go wrong, any of your players, he'll take responsibility for it. But we're only going to keep going forward.
I said that Spurs might accidentally hide the right manager, and I said that before, to be honest. Like watching this guy work. Accidentally. He was not their 1st or 2nd or 3rd or 5th or 6th or 7th choice.
He was. No, don't do that, Mo. He was the 2nd option. He went from Arne Slot to Ange Postecoglou. That was it.
Did you try with Luis Enrique? Did you talk with?
You obviously you have talks with all these managers.
Yeah, exactly. So you spoke with them first. See that? What? Don't do that, Jords. You spoke with them, you asked them, they said no, so you didn't offer them an official contract. But they said no. That's not a slander at your club. I am giving you the props here. You just don't want to listen. You accidentally hired the right manager that suits your club. It's good, bro. Just take the compliment. And
no more, because you're trying to suggest
such a backhanded compliment. I'm sorry, you can't try and pass that off as a compliment and you go, you accidentally done it. It's not compliment.
Wait, no, no manager turned us down. The only manager that might have turned us down might have been Julian Nagelsmann. But any other manager that we spoke with,
Luis Enrique,
Tottenham made it very clear. We only really pushed for Arne Slot. He turned us down. Cool. He turned us down. He wanted to stay at final. And then we went to Ange Postecoglou. And then he was a clean one. He was literally a clean one at the job.
So on a real note, I said that many times, if Spurs can hang in this whatever form they are in now, that honeymoon thing, that great form you're playing until January, and you go invest just the right money to sign a good striker, probably, and a decent centre back, I think you're in a very good position moving forward, because this guy surprised me. I said you'll finish ninth. It's a surprise. Nobody expected that good of a football you play. To be honest, it's amazing to watch Spurs.
You've been great. Look, there's still. I think Jords is bang on in terms of being excited and being happy, but keeping the feet on the floor. You've still got to go through the adversity of losing games. If you hadn't have scored those 2 late goals, what would the reaction have been to losing at home to Sheffield United, as an example? There's loads of gateways to go through, but the style of football looks amazing. I actually like listening to Big Ange talk as well. He just, and this might offend people, what I'm about to say, he just sounds like a bloke. He just sounds like a normal bloke, and I think it's the Aussie in him. Like, he sounds like so many of my uncles and great uncles that are from Australia. It's unbelievable. He just speaks like there's almost like no PR training. He just says what he feels. I didn't quite agree. I got where he was coming from, the Carabao Cup stuff. However, that's irrelevant for me. He's building something really nice at Tottenham, but I think what will help him is Spurs fans keeping their feet on the ground. I think, because the one thing I'd say about Tottenham, this is historic. Same way as I say with my club, how we've become in the last 10 years. When the pressure really starts to mount, we fade away because of the way the club's built. The more pressure you guys start building, we're going to smash Arsenal at the Emirates. We could be in the title race. That pressure in the past has made Tottenham collapse. So right now, if I'm a Spurs fan, why create any pressure that the media and rivals are not creating for you? Like, keep loose lips sink ships. Just keep quiet. Keep the pressure off you. Be those kind of dark horses that might slip in the slipstream from, but well, you're already up in the top 4. But if you get my point, don't bring any unnecessary attention. So, it's like being a struggling striker and then you dye your hair blonde and buy a pair of like luminous yellow boots. Don't put more attention on yourself. Keep a low profile. Look at Richarlison, gets a sports psychologist and has a normal haircut and he scores. Like, no, I'm joking. Haircuts don't make players better. But you get my point. Like, don't bring any attention to yourself.
Don't do a Deji.
Sorry?
The other day, don't do a Deji. The other day he said, if we be Arsenal, they have to put us in the title race conversation like Arsenal and Liverpool. And we're like, are you serious? He's like, yes, don't do that. Don't.
I do think that the point that some Tottenham fans do wrong is, like you just said, they seek the validation. They want to be in the title challenge just to say we're in the title challenge. I'm like, it's no point. You can look at Arsenal last season. They said they was in a title challenge for about 40 games. And there's not 40 games in the season. They were in it till the end, apparently, though. So we're not going to hear all this title challenge.
I love Deji, though. I love it.
Amazing. Fantastic content.
No, like, we just don't need to, don't dive into it, fans. Let's just calm down, take it game by
Jords,
game.
I'm with you. Do you know what's crazy? I actually heard a journalist on TalkSport. I don't remember what his name was. Just a guy there who was saying that you are in the title race. And then some Arsenal fan found a clip last year when it was 23 games into the season where an Arsenal fan phoned in and said, we're in the title race. And he said, the title race don't start till the last 10 games. It just goes to show, like, when it's your own club, like, the emotions change all the time. But yeah, I think you guys should keep your feet on the floor. We are going to talk about Arsenal as well in this, in terms of their start to the season. But viewers, we are sponsored today by NordVPN. You have to firstly get yourself protected online. It's very important that you do that against hackers, people that might want to steal your personal data. But the great thing about NordVPN is that it enables you to change your geolocation and get access to content all around the world. This is one of the main reasons I use it. And I'll show you how quick and easy this is, right? So when you have your phone, right, make sure there's nothing I'm showing on the screen here that's going to get me in trouble. No, there isn't, right? So that's your screen. All you do is you click on the NordVPN app, right? And it loads up like this. This is how quickly it connects. You just go down, and one of my quick connects is going to be Georgia, because that's where I watch the football from. You click on it like this, and it will see it in a minute. It's going to go green. There we go. Bang. That's how quick and easy it is to connect to NordVPN. And when you do it, man like Mo's on there as well, top man. When you do it, you can get access to Premier League football and especially 3:00 games legally and easily using Setanta Sports in Moldova. That is what I use here. I'm going to put it up on the screen now. This is how quick and how easy it is to get done. You connect to NordVPN. You log into Setanta Sports. Obviously, I recorded this video at the beginning of the season, and that shows you there all the Premier League games are available. And there are multiple other sports on this app as well that you can use and watch, whether it be F1, whether it be the the UFC, as you can see there. And great thing with Setanta Sport is it's available on your phone, smart TVs, laptops, your PCs, whatever it may be, and you could add NordVPN to up to 5 devices as well. So make sure you get signed up to Nord today. It's very cheap as a cup of coffee per month. It protects all your data online and gives you access to lots of great content worldwide. So get yourself signed up right now, my people. Now, how do I say this? Arsenal. I've never seen a team criticized so much for being good, Rory. Now suddenly there's anger that your manager decided that he doesn't because he doesn't want to have a guaranteed named number one goalkeeper. Suddenly now that's evil. That will ruin football teams, and managers never before have rotated goalkeepers in football. Talk to me.
Yeah, I don't really. The thing I find weird is that as much as Arteta insists that there is no number one goalkeeper and that he sees goalkeepers the same way he sees outfield players, that there are 2 players for every spot and they compete, like a lot of people just demand that he's not telling the truth and that Raya has replaced Ramsdale, and I don't think that's the case. And yeah, look, he wants to try it, and he's a young manager. It's his first job. Let him try it. If it doesn't work, we've got 2 keepers and we can drop one of them. So I don't really see any potential downside of doing this long term. And look, Raya looked fantastic yesterday, and I think we'll see Ramsdale in the Champions League on Wednesday night. So no drama.
I love how I heard it was still Mikel Arteta's first job. He's like 5 years into it now.
It's 10 years into his job. It's gonna be his first job.
10 years down the line, if he's making mistakes, it's still his first job.
He spends 30 years there. Yeah, love it. I wanted to ask the panel this question, though, because I saw people tweeting this yesterday. I think some people put it into the group chat. The Arsenal have been less convincing, not as good, and therefore not as big a threat this season because they're not scoring as many goals. Talk to me. Are Arsenal not as good?
I don't think that it's a problem that they're not as good. I said it last season. I feel like a lot of their players were just in top form. They're generally in the best form of their life. So it's one of those things, just when they're hitting the ball, everything's going in. They're just getting that stroke of luck at times. And I feel like that's why they were putting so many teams away. A lot of their players are just playing good. And now at this time, they've got a mixed bunch. They've got a few players that are out of form, just aren't at their best, and they've got a few players that are playing good, and they're just having to chop and change it a bit more. They've got a bigger squad, so they're having to utilize it. And now you're seeing Arsenal just struggle a bit more to break down teams, but then they're utilizing other players to come in and changing the system. So I feel like they're growing more as a team, but the individual players, they're not relying on individual brilliance to get them through games as much, and they're just not getting those goals. But I feel like take away the goals, they're playing just as good against these teams, and you saw the way they broke down Everton yesterday. That was complete dominance. Like Everton really didn't do much where you could say that they should have won or had chances. The last game at Goodison Park, Everton ran Arsenal ragged. That midfield they could not handle, and you could see the big change in this game of how Arsenal handled it. So for me personally, I think Arsenal are a better team. They've just grown more, and they're just not scoring or feel the need to put away teams as much.
Listen, yesterday, Everton, I think the number 1 point is that Everton should get relegated and Sean Dyche should be illegal to manage in the Premier League again. That's number 1. It should be illegal. But Arsenal yesterday, I saw something that people didn't want to talk about it. And when I said I praised Saka yesterday, I think he was better than the games before. They were doubling and tripling on him yesterday, but people still want to criticize him for not dribbling 3 players and dribbling the goalkeeper and dribbling the fans and scoring the goals, even though he provided the assist. So I'm just going to give him praise when praise is due. To be honest, Arsenal yesterday, Declan Rice looked like he's everywhere. And again, he was always an option for everybody on the pitch. I have to praise him there. It's not only he wasn't static, he was very dynamic on the pitch. Fabio Vieira looked okay, to be honest. Odegaard looked more dynamic. Saliba makes defense look so easy. And David Raya's distribution is miles ahead of Ramsdale. Yesterday, he connected all the long balls he's required to do. And I think Arsenal made the game look so easy. They didn't even break a sweat. If people think that because it's 1-0, Arsenal were fighting hard, they weren't. They tried the same corner routine 3-4 times until it worked. People don't want to give Arteta credit, so I'm going to give him credit for that, to be honest. It's the same routine because they knew that they couldn't compete with Everton on corners if they cross it every time. Credit to Arteta for that. Arsenal look more mature, as George say, and they look all right. Yes, they're not scoring goals because teams are not just attacking them like last year. They are treating them as a bigger team now. This is it.
I think
What happens when you take the
the
challenges? Teams don't want to attack you. Teams want to sip off you. Teams want to make you make the mistakes. Teams want to annoy you. And I think that was Arsenal's downfall at points last season. When they went to Goodison Park, I felt like they got into a rut last season where what they normally do didn't go off at the start, and then they panicked. This year, it wasn't any of that. It's maturity. They have learned from where they went wrong last season. I think Declan Rice, I'm just happy that now Declan Rice is starting to get the credit the man deserves, because for the past 4 years, all I've been getting told is he's overrated, he's crap. He's a top DM. Just because he was playing for West Ham doesn't mean he's not good. He moved to Arsenal, he's been superb. The Martinelli one could be a worry, but this is why you've got depth. This is why you got Leandro Trossard there. They're a good side, Arsenal. They're a good side at the minute.
I think in terms of this whole like that we don't look as good and that we don't look, I actually think we look better and we don't look as fluid and especially, and it's funny to contrast it with Tottenham because everyone's saying that Tottenham are playing this amazing, wonderful football. They're being given the opportunity to play that football because of their performances last season. Teams aren't sitting in a horrible low block against Tottenham. We've played 5 games this season and all 5 teams have sat in a horrible low block, and it is more difficult to break that down. But that happened in games last season, and in some of those games, we looked like we didn't have a clue how to deal with it. And people have a memory of last season that every game Arsenal were playing wonderful, free-flowing football. We weren't. We went away to Leeds and bullshitted a result out of that we shouldn't have done. There were lots of games last season where we weren't that dominant. And so far for me, I know we dropped points against Fulham, but actually every game, we've had complete control. Again, the Palace game, once we went down to 10 men, that made it slightly trickier, but I do feel like we're more in control of every game this season, and long term we'll pick up more results because of that, even if it doesn't look as glitzy and glamorous in the final third. So I'm happy with it. And going into the Tottenham game, it actually makes me excited because I hope Tottenham are going to be the first team we come up against this season, if they stick to the way that they've been playing, that afford us some space in behind.
There's no doubt about that.
Do you think
we
will?
will 100% stick to the way that we play. Ange Postecoglou will not change the way he plays. Unlike, I think he'd like Arteta and like Pep and like some of these managers who have very high egos. I think he just trusts in himself and trusts in the way that he plays, and he wouldn't change for any team. And he said it in his press conferences. He's going to continue to attack a team, whether he's 2-0 down, 3-0 down, 4-0 down. He's going to continue to play the exact same way because that's the only way he sees as winning.
I hope so, because I think it'll be a very, very entertaining game if that's the case. And
Rory, but it's only the last 2 games, Rory, that you looked all right. You looked more mature. I think the first 3 games, you looked a little bit panicky. You looked a little bit like off them. I think I'm actually talking about the last 2 games, even against the Man United game. You kept at it. You went down and then you came back right away with a goal that it looks like it's from the training ground, the cut back, or they got arriving late, blah blah blah. But before that, you didn't look great. I hope it continues for Arsenal because I want to see teams battle City a little bit. I don't want City to have a walk in the park, to be honest, for this league. I want Liverpool and Arsenal to be good as a neutral. This is just an opinion. Like, I don't want City to walk away with it early. But I think Arsenal, against Spurs, I think you will have a lot of chances, but I think actually it's all going to be down to Gabriel and Saliba, in my opinion, to make it look easy. Again, it's the Madisons and Solomon, who's so quick, and Kulusevski looks in form. It's going to be the defense who wins any of the team, the game, and I think your defense is way more stable than Spurs' defense.
Do you know,
especially at home?
Do you know the difference in terms of how we've played as well that you've noticed? It's Zinchenko. I cannot explain enough the difference Zinchenko makes for our team in terms of how we dictate games across the midfield, and the way that now him and Rice are beginning to operate in the midfield is better than we were, in my opinion, at any point last season in terms of that way that we can dominate. Gabriel and Saliba are big. Yeah.
He was stubborn. Arteta was stubborn, and it was going to cost him. And he let away the ego and proving that Havertz is that and Havertz is this. And Gabriel, so he plays Gabriel now. Rice as a DM. He looks okay. He hasn't come up. The way I'm going to judge Rice, to be honest, looking from outside, is when he gets pressed. he plays against a Tottenham side, because Rice is very comfortable in the midfield now. No teams is pressing you that high as well. So against Spurs, I'm gonna judge him in his defensive, which is, I know that Thomas Partey
especially
excelled.
against a proper DM as well.
Yeah,
You know,
like
a
Thomas
real DM.
Partey not only excelled at being a DM and moving the ball around, he actually was very good in tracking back, covering spacing, knowing when to delay and when to tackle the counter attack for the opposition. He didn't need to do that for Arsenal in the first 5 games, and the only counter attack with them was Man United, and they scored. So basically, he didn't do it. Okay, so I'm just waiting to see that game before people like Tom saying he's world class and he deserves this and he deserves that. So I'm just waiting for him to actually play against a team that is good in moving the ball.
If Arsenal have
we on about
improved,
Declan Rice here?
what's that, Tom?
I'm sorry. If this is about Declan, I'm not having this. Declan Rice needs to prove it against top sides, like he hasn't been England's
What do you
best
mean?
midfielder for the past 2 years.
But your midfield is all crap.
Like-
so what are you talking about? What is this?
This idea that Declan Rice needs to play against a better midfield, he needs to go up against a better midfield. No, he doesn't. He's proved it in the past how many years? He's went up against Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea, at West Ham, and he has ran games against top sides at West
Ran
Ham.
games.
Why is
Ran
there now that he
games.
needs to do it again? Yes.
Ran games. You just said
Yes.
ran games at West Ham
Yes.
under David
Yes.
Moyes.
Yes.
What are you talking about? How do you run a game under David Moyes? How is that even possible?
You
That's not
dominate
even
the
in
midfield.
that's not even in the checklist. Anyway,
Right, so do you believe that to run a game you have to have more possession? Because I don't.
No,
I believe if
no,
you're
I
if you're
don't.
the dominant player, you run the game.
No, I
Rice
don't.
has-
no, I don't.
Declan Rice has ran plenty of games, being the best midfielder on the park.
No, I don't. But you didn't listen to. Okay, you want to do the super chats, of course, Terry.
No, I'm just putting these ones up.
Okay, so to be honest, Tom, he plays now in a position-based team, right? Like Rodri, like Thomas Partey did last year. You excel in both sides of the game, in moving the ball around, being an option to everybody, but also you have to excel in the defensive side of the game, where you stop the counter-attacking teams. When you delay the game, you tackle, you intercept, which is Rodri does, Fernandinho used to do, Casemiro did for Man United last year at home, right? This is what I'm waiting for Rice to do. This is I'm waiting to see him against Spurs, which is based on the first 5 games, they excel at this. This is what my point. He excelled in the offensive part of the game. He excelled in the offensive part of the game in an offensive team, in a position-based team. I'm waiting to see where he can stop attacks from happening, Tom. This is it.
I feel like it's a big difference as well, because you're going to be coming up against one of the league's best creative midfielders. He's going to have to deal with the movement of James Maddison. It's not going to be easy. He's very erratic. He's up and down the pitch. He doesn't just pick up the ball in the third phase of play. He's there from the beginning, from the middle. Like, it's just going to be a big challenge. So I do think it's going to be interesting. Like Roy said, I do think it's going to be an entertaining game. I think the midfield battle is going to be very interesting to watch. And I'm looking forward to seeing how Rice can handle Maddison, just like I'm looking forward to see how Basuma can handle Odegaard.
It's Odegaard versus Madison, my man. It's Odegaard. Who can run the game?
Well, yeah, it's going to be very intriguing. We'll be previewing that later on in the week. Some super chats here. First one says, hilarious thing is all the outrage. We beat Spurs. We're better off after 6 games than we were last season. We're controlling and nullifying teams way better, is what Hybrid Ultra says here. I think people are conflating excitedness for how good you are. Arsenal are controlling games a lot better, in my opinion. Liverpool are more exciting. Arsenal are more efficient.
Yeah, we don't have control.
Chances. Who is a master? Mo is a master. I can't lie. Man is press resistant and deadly on the counter. I was talking about you. Thinks you're press resistant.
You need to be press resistant when you don't support a Premier League team.
Yeah. I'm really relaxed when my team's doing well. When we're not, I'm fucking fuming and angry and triggered. Do you know what I mean? It is what it is. That's why Mo didn't come on after Inter Milan got beat in the Champions League final, because we can judge Spurs after they play Liverpool, City, Arsenal, Brighton, Newcastle, and then we have an idea of where they are. I think
it's a fair point.
It is fair. I think there's let's see how they handle, again, little things. Let's see how they handle a few injuries. No disrespect. If they had the level of injuries right now that Chelsea and Man United have got, all these things, that's why I think Jords is right. Enjoy it, celebrate it. but don't get carried away just yet. Would be my advice. Cheers, my G's. Haven't seen you this tickled, rattled in a while. Tell Man United need unity. Listen, I'm not genuinely rattled with anything anybody's saying per se. I'm just angry at the situation that my club is in, and I can't get out my head the fact that even if everybody's right about Rashford, sell him, Bruno, sell him, Ten Hag, do all those things, I still don't think my team gets any better, like long term. So it just feel I'm tired, bruv. I'm tired. David here says, and that, by the way, some people in the comments have been saying Terry's only glazers out when they lose. Again, you can banter me all you want, but when you lie to banter me, it just doesn't go down well. I do believe I'm one of the only consistent Man United fans who calls them out win, lose, or draw. Like, it doesn't matter. I just want the Glazers gone. I wouldn't give a shit if we came 15th. As long as they go, I'm cool. None of this Ten Hag, Rashford out bollocks. Glazers out first. I do get where you're coming from, bro. Zinchenko is the most underrated player in the Premier League, is what Tony Bloom thinks here. That's an interesting take. Question for the panel. What happens if 7 or 8 players who Chelsea bought on death row contracts flop? How will they be able to sell those players?
If we ask that question, we'll get crucified.
They won't.
No,
They might not be able to. I think that's the point.
Do you remember
not be able
that
to.
when we said
They'll be able to.
Yeah, but for a
They'll
loss,
just
Tom,
end
for a loss.
up at some low. They'll end up at Forest or something.
But they
They'll
can't
end up with
afford
some low
losses.
prem
I think
salary.
that's
Can't
the
afford
issue.
losses. Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
So-
if it's
so-
completely wrong for Chelsea,
Are they in
like,
that bad of a state that if it's better for them to keep a player who's bad rather than sell them for a loss? Because
Well,
it looks
it's-
better in terms of
but that's
finances.
exactly, but that's exactly what. That's why Man United's owners don't sanction the sale of certain players because they're losing so much money on them. It's literally what they do. So, and some of those deals are only 3 or 4 years. If some of these men are on 8, 9s, but we'll see what happens.
Never
But
going,
also-
is he?
but also-
Mudryk is stuck at Stamford Bridge for the next 8 years. He's not moving.
But also, Tom, to sell a player, the player has to accept leaving unless you terminate
That is
their.
also
Like,
true.
there's no way of getting them out, and you've got these players that are on effectively lifetime contracts on good money. They're not going to get more money at Forest, and they're not going to be able to go. Even if you're a player and you've got in your bio that you're a Forest player, that's not the same as having that you're a Chelsea player. So, the everything that comes with being a Chelsea player is better. And if you don't really care about winning, which you're not going to do at Forest anyway, there's no reason for the players to want to leave. And I think ultimately there's a long list of reasons that no club in history has ever taken this approach. I'm sure people might have thought of doing it, and they've all kind of rationally came to the conclusion that you might not end up in a good position.
Yep. Question here: who will suffer more if they lose their main players to injury, Arsenal or Tottenham?
Spurs.
This season, it'd probably be us. We haven't got as deep a squad, but then you'd also have to look at Arsenal playing Champions League. We're not, so we're not going to be affected as much because we won't be playing as many games.
That's true. If you look at the fact that we've already lost Timber for the season, Jesus hasn't started a game all season, Partey's been out for the last couple of games. Like, that's 3 big players, and it hasn't
What
really
happened
affected
to
us too badly.
Jesus? What happened to the guy? Looks
He,
deflated on the bench, and he came on the pitch, tried to run. What happened to the guy? Like, he's not injured, is he?
No, he was
Nothing happened
injured.
to
Yeah,
him.
yeah, he was injured.
He was
at the start
injured,
of the
yeah,
season.
He was, but he has
Yeah,
been
yeah.
on the bench for 2 games and he hasn't started. Is that because Nketiah's
Yeah, but-
better?
Well, I think Nketiah was being given a chance because his form had been quite good. But also, I think for Everton specifically, bear in mind, before Everton, Jesus hadn't played more than 30 minutes of football since pre-season. But going into the Everton game, we've got 3 games this week. We've got Champions League on Wednesday and North London Derby on Sunday. If you were to look at that and go, can Jesus, fitness-wise, play 3 games in that quick succession? No. Okay, which game would you rather Jesus doesn't start? Everton.
So it's a manager's choice, not something about the form or anything. Okay.
No, yeah, it's just manager's choice.
Speaking of this week's games, Champions League is upon us.
And Europa League. Don't forget Europa League. Massive competition. Thursday nights.
We'll chat about that later in the week. As much as my team's in the mud, I'd still rather be in the champion. Well, I'm saying I'd rather be in the Champions League. Maybe not come 10 o'clock on Wednesday night. But
we'll see you in January, Teddy. We'll see you on 39th
yeah,
of January.
in January. Big night for Man City, the champions. They're playing a Serbian team, of which if I try to announce, I may suffer with a stroke.
Red Star.
A Red Star. No, I'm trying to pronounce a real name, like the way it's spelled in Serbian. It's up on my screen. But yeah, Red Star Belgrade. You're confident of a win.
Respect the mighty Red Star. They are European Cup. They've won the previous European Cup, so respect them. Yeah, we're going to batter them.
So you're saying they're bigger than Spurs and Arsenal? Is that what you just said?
You said that,
Well,
not me.
Spurs. I know we have European Cups, but Arsenal, I don't know.
No, the European Cup. Red Star have won the European Cup.
The European Cup.
You won the Champions League.
Yes. I mean, there's gonna be no mess ups in this. Would you expect heavy rotation for this game? Because it's easy.
Yeah, well, look, we've also got like a really tricky game against Newcastle in the League Cup, like the week after, I think. So I don't think it'll be total rotation, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Calvin Phillips started, for example. I wouldn't be surprised if Oscar Bob gets a start, that sort of thing. But yeah, really, we should be beating them like, I don't know, 3 or 4-0 or something, to be honest.
I hear you on that. How do we see AC Milan Newcastle go in, panel? Like, what do you think about that, Mo? As you're someone who watches Serie A probably more than the rest of us.
Well, both teams are terrible, to be honest. They're atrocious, both of them. Newcastle have started the season, cannot be terrible. They robbed Brentford. That was not a penalty. And to be honest, AC Milan, of course, like we beat them 5-1. We kind of like destroyed them. They are in a terrible, even though they won their first 3 games, they are terrible. Newcastle are terrible, but AC Milan, they have the heritage, of course, and people just want to downplay that. But to go to the San Siro, Newcastle, for the first time in 25 years to play in the Champions League, I think it'll be a tough ask for Newcastle to get a result. I'll pick Milan to win, without a doubt. I'll pick Milan. If Newcastle win this game, I think it'd be a very, very. I'll be surprised, but I won't say it's a 0% chance, but I will definitely put my money on Milan to win that game. It's Newcastle don't have any experience in the Champions League, 0, and I can't remember. Do they have any player that played any European game?
I'm pretty sure Bruno, Sandro, Tonali,
Bruno Guimaraes.
Bruno Guimaraes. Did he not play?
I don't think he played. Did he play in the Champions League? Tonali played for Milan last year. It's only Tonali though, but he will feel the pressure. Like
I think Botman played with Lille. I think Botman played a little bit with Lille.
I think that Newcastle. Is it away or home?
It's away for Newcastle, so it's not St. James Park. So I think it's going to be
all right. No, you might be right there. I do think it's going to be a tough game.
No, if it was a St. James, I'll feel Milan will feel the pressure.
Isak's played as well. Isak's played in the Champions League as well.
With Sociedad. He
Trippier.
did.
I think so.
Yeah, so some players maybe they have experience, and maybe I was wrong, but I still think that Milan.
I don't think it's an experience issue.
Last year. What do you think, though? What do you think? It's
1-0. 1-0 draw.
I just think going away to San Siro for your first game, like you say, in the Champions League, it's a big game. It's a big occasion. I feel like it might just be a bit too big for Newcastle in their first game to go out there and go and smash them. I don't think Milan's a good team, though. Like you said, I think if they go to the home leg, I think Newcastle deal with them at St. James Park. I don't think they're going to have any problems. But away from home, I think they might struggle and it'll probably be a draw.
I reckon Newcastle win. I reckon it's just one.
Why do you say that, Tom? Why do you say that? I'm not defending Milan. Screw Milan. I want them to lose 10-1. I don't care.
Because I think Newcastle's team is quite good. I just think right now they are in a situation where they're trying to be something they're not. And I think they are a better team when they sit back, and they are allowed to sit back against European giants. They are allowed to go away to the San Siro and sit back and play on the counter, which is something that I don't think they've been allowed to do or try to do as much in the Premier League this season. Once they go back to comfort, I think you'll start seeing the likes of Gordon, Isak, Barnes, Guimaraes, Joelinton click into gear again, where I think they've been a little bit slow to start the season. Once they're back on the counter-attack, they'll click into gear again, and I think they could. I think they can really hurt Milan. I think this will be a big game for Harvey Barnes. I'm a big Harvey Barnes fan.
I actually think if Newcastle go to the game believing that we're the better team, they will lose. I think if they go to the game knowing that we're going away at the San Siro, we need to know the way we play football and try to hit it.
I think they will, though. I think they will. I don't think they're going to go there going, this is a walk in the park. We're a Prem team. I think they'll go there, and I think they'll feel that. I think they've definitely got a chance. I don't think they haven't been great, Newcastle, this year, but they've also had a really hard start. And the Liverpool game was a crazy anomaly, as an example. They narrowly got beat by the best team in the world at Man City. Brentford aren't an easy team, and they've just got to ride through. I think they'll click into gear again at some point. The other game, Arsenal PSV. Any worries, any concerns at all, Rory, about this game on Wednesday night?
Yeah, I mean, it's not as easy a game as it sounds in terms of PSV have started the season well. They've played 4, won 4, scored 12 and conceded 1. So they've had a very solid start to the season. And look, you talk about Newcastle players. How many Newcastle players have played Champions League games? How many Arsenal players have played Champions League games? Might actually be fewer than Newcastle. So there will be a pressure. And because there's an element of, even though it's our first time back in the Champions League in 6 or 7 years, the expectation is still that we'll win the game, probably win it quite comfortably. I think there's a pressure and an expectation to deal with. But yeah, look, we are the better team on paper, and I'm confident
Rory,
we'll win.
let's get it right, man. This is a Europa League fixture. You guys have played PSV how many times in the past 6 or 7 years?
Yeah, but we lost to them in the Europa League last year.
I know, but this is a Europa League fixture. Like, this shouldn't be a worry. I know you guys are playing the first time in the Champions League, but the type of teams you're playing.
Yeah. On paper, we definitely should win. I just think it'll be good. It'll be good to get the first game out of the way. I'm just absolutely buzzing to be there, to be honest. So hopefully it's a win.
Yep, and the other game, little one, Bayern Munich, Man United. How badly are Man United going to get smashed, in your opinions?
Kane scored 2 goals.
What was it when Tottenham played them? What was the Tottenham one from years ago when he smashed Tottenham? Was it 6-2?
7-1 or something?
6-1 or something like that.
Yeah. I reckon they might even beat that. I reckon United are just that bad.
You know, the thing about it is that Bayern Munich are not even good. Bayern Munich, if you watch their game, they're not even good. But Man United are like atrocious. However, if Erik Ten Hag goes to Munich,
Bayern aren't good, but I'll tell you what, they match up so well at the minute. Sergio Reguilon against Leroy Sané.
But hold on. If Erik Ten Hag goes back to the basics and sit back, try to isolate Rashford with one of the defenders, Upamecano or something, and not try to play expensive football because you have Onana, sit back 2 blocks, lines, and try to earn the counter, they might have a chance.
But we can't. I'll be real. If you're telling him to do that, then you're pretty much going back on what we've said about Ten Hag. Show that he needs to play one style of football. He needs to persist.
But in the Champions League, what matters is the results, because the results makes you money and makes you progress. In the Champions League, it doesn't matter. It's completely different than the league. You can be the most expensive team in your league, but you go to a better team at the moment at their home ground, you might have to change the style of play. Real Madrid do that. Barcelona did that. You can do that. It doesn't have to be. I'm sorry, they're not coached by Pep Guardiola. The only guy that does this is Pep Guardiola, even though he went to Madrid and he defended for 35 minutes. Erik Ten Hag can do that.
Yeah, I'm going with 11-0 to Bayern Munich. That's my prediction.
No, I do think.
I change my mind. We will win if we drop Rashford and Bruno and Casemiro. If we drop all those shit players from our team, we will ball out like prime Barcelona and we'll win 110%, 100%. We'll be a better team then.
I do think if you sit back, like you nearly got a result against Arsenal by sitting back and playing on the counter. I think that is the way that you have to go. I think if you try and go toe to toe with them, you will get smashed. But I do think there's an opportunity. Look, it's Champions League, anything can happen. But I do think you'll lose 2-1.
Well, that's a very good result, 2-1.
Yeah, I'm going. If I was to genuinely predict it, I'd actually say 3-1. I think that I just don't see on a real level. I just don't see us. I don't think we'd have beaten them if we were playing better than we are right now. Having said that, I watched their game on. I want to say it was on Friday. I watched their game on Friday, and I conceded a lot of chances and opportunities. But I'm not allowing myself to think that that's going to be us, because that's just, I feel like I'd be deluding myself. So, yeah, I'm going with a comfortable Bayern Munich win. This year says, I will say this because I've watched Bayern versus Leverkusen. Leverkusen did very well, could have won it. But if United give Kane space, 9 times out of 10, he will score. Yeah, look, I think we're being respect you. We know that. We've all watched Kane enough in the Premier League to know you give him space, he scores. Thank you, Chow. Bayern gave Boniface. Who Boniface? Is that a team?
Yeah, the guy that played for Liverpool. He had 17 chances.
Sorry, 17 chances on goal last week. Sorry, in my head, I thought that was a club. I was like, who the fuck's that? Okay, fair enough. Yeah, listen, if we get 17 chances, we might score 1, so we'll be all right. It's just a game. Champions League heritage is overplayed. The stupid music and Heineken commercial is created an illusion. Come on, you gooners.
You support Arsenal. I know that. Without even reading the last part.
8-0 Bayern Munich. Harry Kane double hat-trick incoming.
We can
Great.
only hope.
I will cry. Nah, Mo, you are devious. Lol, not gonna lie. Mo gender is real. Is what Tevin says. Why we love Mo. By the way, Terry, it's Donny James. I know it was you, bruv. I know it was you. It used to be Chow something else, didn't it? But now it's Chow Chat. So I get it with you, bruv. I hope you're well, young man. On a serious note, didn't United win against PSG in France a couple of years ago when all the odds were against them, just like now? Yes, but Rashford and Bruno have gone backwards since then, and we will lose if they play. So 110% we've lost the game because Rashford is the reason that everything's gone wrong at Man United since 2013, even before he made a debut. That one he messing. Question. Oh, sorry, we've already done that one there, but there we go. I want to say a big thank you to everyone who's tuned into the show today. I want to thank my panel. You're always amazing. Great challenge, great football opinions as well. Please hit the like button before you leave. Make sure you're subscribed and turn bell notifications on. And of course, check out NordVPN now and all their offers available to you. It is great for the geolocation and the content you can receive. However, you should be protecting yourself online when surfing on the internet. There's a lot of nasty people out there that could try and screw you over. So click on the link in our description below now. Go check out the offers that the Football Terrace has exclusively for you. Until next time, everybody, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll